Eretz Hashem. We're back by Tuesday afternoon. Look forward to Eretz Hashem to see everyone in Shir in Eretz Hashem B'Shar Tov Miflakas on Wednesday morning. So, but it is a schus nevertheless to continue to learn at least virtually. Thank you to all of our sponsors who are listed again in the description on the YouTube channel as well as on the podcast. Today's daf is paid down 84. We are picking up in Eretz Hashem on Pei Gimel Lebeis 83b. We are picking up a Prue Rosh. So actually, no, I take it back. We are picking up about Orel. 2 lines up from the bottom. About Orel Onin Yoshe Bazar. So remember again going through the list of people. First, we went through the list of Kohanim who are Chayim Misbei Shemayim, or just say circumstances which generate liability of Misbei Shemayim. And then the Mishnah created a list, or the Bryce created a list. Then an Abel, a Kohen who does the Avodah as an Abel, as a mourner. Orel, uncircumcised. Yoshev, sitting. So the halach is all three of these things, as much as they're prohibited. If a Kohen does it, he's in violation of a lav, and not Misbei Shemayim. It says the Gemara, so now the Gemara is going to go through each of these one by one. Orel, you know. From where do we know that if a Kohen does the Avodah as an Orel, that it is quote unquote only a lav and not Misbei Shemayim? So the truth is, this is not explicitly mentioned in the Torah. So it's just in the Lashon over here is, we did not learn this from the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, which means it was not explicitly said in the Torah. Yecheskel ben Muzi v'lamnami. Yecheskel ben Muzi, Rabbi Yecheskel Kimorani. What did Yecheskel say? Kol ben nechar orel leif top of Peidal 84a v'orel basar lo yava amikdashi. It's interesting enough. So Yecheskel says Kol ben nechar, again, who's a non-Jew, orel leif, uncircumcised heart, v'orel basar. And someone who's literally physically uncircumcised should not come to the mikdash to serve me. So ultimately, again, here we see now, again, obviously, this is not a doraisa, but rather, again, this is a pasuk from Navi. And therefore, again, when the Gemara says that it's a lav, really what it means is, Rashi points out over here, so when we say a lav, really is what we call divrei kabbalah. So if a Kohen were to do the service as an Orel, someone who's uncircumcised, then remember again, the case of where a Kohen is not circumcised is a case of Mesu Achar Echav Machmas Milah, where they couldn't do a bris milah, right? Because if someone again can have a bris milah but remains in an uncircumcised state, there's a whole different layer of liability attached to that. We're talking about over here where this particular Kohen could not have a milah because his brothers had died as a result of a bris milah before him. So such an individual, although he is allowed, quote unquote, to remain uncircumcised, he is not allowed to serve the Beis Hamikdash. Where do you learn it out from? Pasuk Yecheskel. Good. Next, Onein. Now remember again, Onein is someone. Now it's interesting, brother. If you notice, the Gemara uses both lashon of Onein and Avel. Now, for our purposes, again, Onein is the state of a period of time between death and burial. So the halach is that a Kohen can't do the avodah during that time. And if he does so, he is chayiv. It's a lav. It's a lav. It says in Minolan, where do you know that from? Only Minolan. Second line from the top, 84a, Peidal Medalin. Because the pasuk says it's actually by the Kohen Gadol. The pasuk says by the Kohen Gadol, actually specifically by Aaron after the death of Nadav and Abihu. Aaron cannot leave the mikdash, and he should not profane the mikdash of his God. Now, the pasuk is telling you that even though Aaron had encountered and experienced such a catastrophic and overwhelming loss, he was not permitted to leave the mikdash. He had to continue to do the avodah. So the Gemara dashes something very important. The Gemara says, what do you see from here? It's after the Kohen Gadol who has to continue to serve as an owner. But if someone else were to serve as an owner, they would in fact profane temple service. So from here you see, so the fact that the Kohen Gadol has to serve as an owner / Avel indicates to us that other Kohanim may not serve in that state. So now we'll say, so where the Gemara is holding right now is, therefore, if a Kohen does serve in the state of Aninos, he's in violation of a law, prohibition. Versus 1 second. Maybe we should make a Gzir Shabbat, harkening back to yesterday's daf. Harkening back to yesterday's daf. So remember again, on one hand it says, by Avelos it says Chilel, and by Truma it says Chilel. So we should say, just like if a Kohen who is coming eats Truma, he's Chayiv Misa B'di Shamayim. So too, if a Kohen who's an Avel does the Avodah, You should also be chai misbidi shamayim. Amar Rav Advar Rabba v'nei lev chilo chilo b'truma mal halan b'misa kama misa, and say just like again by a kohen who's coming, it's truma. We'll just call it truma for now on. But again, the case is a Tamei kohen who eats truma is chai misbidi shamayim. So just like by truma is misbidi shamayim, so too again onein should also be misbidi shamayim. Which Gemara says one second. First of all, just understand the prohibition for a kohen to do the avodah as an onen is not written explicitly; it's inferred. The fact that the kohen gadol is not allowed to leave the mikdash but has to serve even in a state of animos tells us that a regular kohen can't serve in a state of animos. So it's not explicit; it's inferred. So the Gemara says, so this is something that is learned out from an inference, and there's a principle. Interesting. Gemara espouses a principle. What's the principle? Anything that is learned out from an inference itself cannot be part of the Gzir Shalom, which logically it's saying is, in order to be part of the Gzir Shalom, you need two explicit concepts, and you can build a bridge between them. If one of those concepts is not explicit, but rather learned out by inference, you cannot use it for Gzir Shalom. Interesting. Okay. Yoshek Nala. Next, how do I know that if a kohen does the avodah sitting, that he is in violation of Allah? Amar Rabba, Amar Nachman, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Kibol bachar Hashem Elokecha mikol shvatecha la'amod l'shares. So the pasuk says by the Kohanim, Hashem chose the Kohen to go ahead and serve. Hashem chose the Kohen from amongst all of the tribes, la'amod, to stand and to serve. What do you see from here? La'amida bachar tivalo v'yeshiva. That dafka avod, the sacrificial service, temple service, has to be done standing and not sitting. Therefore, if a Kohen goes there and sits during the avodah, then halacha l'maisa he's in violation of Allah. Balmul. Next, what about a blemished kohen? So remember again. So what happens if a blemished kohen does the avodah? Rabbi or Misa. Rabbi says he's put to death. The chum say bashara. It's a lav. So let's analyze. My time to Rabbi. What's Rabbi's logic that he says if a blemished kohen does the avodah, he's chai Misa. What's his logic? So the Gemara says b'chsev ach ala parochas lo yavo. The pasuk says that again, if a kohen has a mum, he should not come to the parochas. And then the rest of the pasuk is v'lo yichalel es mikdashi ki ani Hashem mikdasham. He should not profane my mikdash. Lashon of chilul. So the Gemara says v'yolif chilul b'truma, make a gzira shava from balmum to truma. Just like it says man lahalon b'misa. Just like by truma, if you have a tamei kohen eats truma, it's chai misbedi shamayim. Afkan b'misa. So if a balmum does the avodah, he's also chai misa. So that's Rabbi's logic. Zir shabbat chilo from truma to balmum. The nail of chilo minosar. So we'll say again, this is like chazar from yesterday. But remember it also says chilo by nosar. And nosar is a chiv karis. So you should make a zir shabbat between balmum and nosar. So just like nosar is chiv karis, so too balmum is chiv karis. To which the Gemara says mal halam b'karis afkan b'karis. No, it makes more sense to learn out balmum from truma than from nosar. Why? Shekein psul haguf mi psul haguf. Because remember again, the common denominator between truma and balmum is in both cases you're dealing with a disqualified kohen. Right? Balmum, the kohen himself has a blemish, and in the case of truma, we have a kohen who is tamei, eating truma, consuming truma. So it makes more sense to learn out physical disqualification from physical disqualification. Adrabo. So just the opposite. No, you should learn from nosar. Why? Shekein kodesh nim pigol v'nosa. Because again, it has a lot of commonalities. Number one, they're both kodesh. Number two, again, it's all taking place inside of the mikdash. And furthermore, again, it's subject to pigol v'nosar. Ella mitame shishimish kamar psul haguf mipsul haguf kodesh pnim. I'm sorry, what's the phrase? Adraba. We know Shabbat Shekein Kodesh Pnim Pigol V'Nosar. Saloch Lamaisa. Again, we should learn out from Nosar rather than from Truma. Ella Mitame Shishimish Kamar. Rather, again, it is better. No, we'd rather learn it out from the case. Okay, so the Gemara, that's what she hears. We're going to learn out ultimately again from Tamei Shishimish. Now, who's Tamei Shishimish? That's the Kohen who is Tamei who does the Avodah. Again, this is more like we had this yesterday and Sunday as well. So the Gemara says, Elamit Tamei Shishimish Kamar, Psul Haguf, Mipsul Haguf. To which the Gemara says, Kodesh Pnim Pigol V'Nosar, Mi Kodesh Pnim Pigol V'Nosar. Okay, so we'll say, so this is Rabbi's logic. So Rabbi's logic ultimately, again, is an halacha l'maisa. So again, different ways you can learn it out, different possibilities of learning it out, but Lamaisa results in a Chiyuv Misa. Okay, so what I said, remember, trying to figure out over here. If a Baal Mum does the Avoda, what is the halacha? Rabbi says Chiyuv Misa. Again, a couple of different possibilities as to where he learns the halacha. What about the Rabbanon? The Rabbanon Amar Kra, Bo, V'lo B'Baal Mum. The Rabbanon say the pasuk says Bo. The pasuk says about the Kohen who does the Avoda in the state of Tumah. It says ultimately again, this individual is Chayiv himself, but not a Baal Mum. Okay, that's the logic. So the Gemara goes right there. His Me'ilah, what about the case? So therefore, fundamental machlokas again, the Gemara ends up with the machlokas is not machliah. Does not decide. Kohen Baal Mum does the avoda. So halacha l'maisa again. What right? This is we have this right. So I'll just tell you the way the Rambam passes. The Rambam passes like the Chachamim. And if a Kohen Baal Mum does the avoda, it is not chiyuv misa b'du shemayim. Rather, again, it is a lav. It is a lav. So that's like the Chachamim. Okay. So next, is it the Me'ilah? What about a case of intentional Me'ilah? So what's the status here? Rabbi Omer b'Misa. Rabbi says there's a Chiyuv Misa. The Chachamim Omer b'Azhara. The Chachamim say that it's a lav. Okay, says the Gemara. So what's going on over here? My time with Rabbi. What's Rabbi's logic? Why does Rabbi say that ultimately intentional Me'ilah is Misa? So Rabbi Abba Gamar Chet Truma. Zir Shava of Chet from Truma. It says Chet. Ultimately by Me'ilah, it says Chet by Truma, Mal Halan Benisa, just like by Truma. Hang it on both sides. All the cases of Truma are a Kohen who's coming partaking of Truma. That's the case of Truma. So just like by Truma, there's the Chiyuv Misa B'dei Shamayim. Afkan Misa, so too over here, by cases of Me'ilah, intentional Me'ilah, there'll be Misa B'dei Shamayim as well. The Rabbanon on the other hand say no. Rabbanon Amri. Omer Kra, Bo, V'lo B'Me'ilah. The Rabbanan say once again, when is there or where is there Misa B'dei Shamayim? That'll be the case ultimately again if the Kohen who goes ahead and intentionally does the avodah in a state of Tumah. But Lamaisa not Misa B'dei Me'ilah. And I will say once again, the Rambam Paskin is like the Chachamim. Again, actually, the Marmuk for that, the English part for that is on Amud Aleph. Rambam on yesterday's daf, Taik Amud Aleph. Rambam Paskin is like the Chachamim. That if a person intentionally goes in and violates Me'ilah, then it is not Misa B'dei Shamayim. Instead, it is a law. It is a prohibition. Incredible. All right, so now back to the Mishnah. Zar sheshimish b'mikdash. So remember, again, I will say this was Shabbos' daf, right? So the Mishnah said this was the end of Pei Aleph on the days. Zar sheshimish b'mikdash. If a non-Kohen intentionally, right, serves in the base of Mikdash, Rabbi Kiva or b'chenek, the Chachamim Omer B'dei Shamayim. Rabbi Kiva says chenek strangulation. And the Chachamim say it's Misa B'dei Shamayim. Either way, not good. But Lamaisa, again, my focus as to what the punishment is. So let's analyze. Tanya, Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Ne'emar Kan, V'azar HaKorev Yumas, V'ne'emar L'halon, Kol HaKorev El Mishkan Hashem, Yomos. So we'll say, so the work over here, so Rabbi Shmuel, use Brisa, Rabbi Shmuel says as follows. On the one hand, it says, V'azar HaKorev Yumas. So this is talking about the non-Kohen does the avodah. Then the Gemara quotes the second pasuk. What's the second pasuk? Kol HaKorev El Mishkan Hashem Yomos in Kamnu L'Dvor. So again, this is actually talking about by Adas Korach. But again, in any event, the Gemara quotes another pasuk, and it says, "Whoever comes close to the Mishkan Hashem, Yomos will die." Mal Lahalon B'dei Shamayim, just like by that second pasuk, it's talking about B'dei Shamayim. Now Rashi points out over here. Look at Rashi. Mal Lahalon. Rashi is right across from Tosos Elon. Mal Lahalon B'dei Shamayim. Remember again, this is by the 250 followers of Korah who were killed, were incinerated. By right, this is when they brought the Torahs. So they were killed Misa B'dei Shamayim. So interestingly enough, Rabbi Shmuel is making a Gzera Shava. It says by a non-Kohen who does the avodah Yomos V'azar HaKorev, or I should say Yumas, and it says by Adas Korach Kol HaKorev El Mishkan Hashem Yomos. Now they were also Zarim. They were non-Kohen who did the avodah, so they were killed. Mala Halon, just like by Korah, B'dei Shamayim, they were killed by Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Afkan B'dei Shamayim, so to over here it's Misa B'dei Shamayim. And therefore again, this is Rabbi Shmuel's Raya that if a non-Kohen does the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, he is killed with Misa B'dei Shamayim. Rabbi Kiva says no. Ne'amar kan v'azar HaKorev Yumas, v'ne'amar lahalon v'hanovi hahu o chorev hachalom hahu Yumas. So we'll say interim. He makes a different Gzera Shava. It says by the non-Kohen who does the avodah Yumas, and it says by the Navi. This is the false prophet. false prophet. These are individuals who try to go ahead and get Klal Yisrael to worship Avodah Zarah. So the pasuk says you must by them as well, and therefore what? Just like by the Navi, by the false prophet, just like the false prophet is killed with skila, so too the Zar who does the Avodah is also killed with skila. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri said no. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri disagrees. In other words, he's disagreeing with Rabbi Akiva about the death penalty for the false prophet. Whereas Rabbi Akiva says it's skila, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri holds that it's chenek. But either way, what we're going to do is we're going to hold a gzer shava between false prophets, between the Navi, between the false prophet, and the non-Kohen who does the avodah. So again, according to Rabbi Akiva, that's going to result in the punishment of skila, and according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's going to result in the punishment of chenek. So the Gemara says, by the way, by Makam Nifagir Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Akiva. So first of all, before the first machlokes is between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva, right? Rabbi Shmuel is making the gzer shava of Ba'azar Karev Yumas, and he's comparing it to the followers of Korach. Just like the followers of Korach who killed Nismi Shemayim, so too again, the Zar, the non-Kohen who does the Avodah, is also killed Nismi Shemayim. Rabbi Akiva disagrees. Rabbi Akiva compares the Zar to the false prophet. Just like the false prophet is killed with skila, so too the Zar is killed with skila. So it says, what's their machlokes? When I come to Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Akiva, we'll say first 5 line on the bottom, page out 84a. Rabbi Akiva suffered done in Yumas mi Yumas. They done in Yumas mi Yamos. Oh, Rabbi Akiva says like this. If you're making gzer shava, let's do it right. How do you make a gzer shava? With 2 identical words. So the word is Yumas. It says Yumas by Zar, and it says Yumas by the false prophet. By Adas Korach, by the followers of Korach, the lashon of the pasuk is Yamos, not Yumas. Rabbi Akiva says that I have to make a gzer shava with identical words. Rabbi Shmuel says, done in Hedyot Mehedyot, they done in Hedyot Minavi. So Rabbi Shmuel on the other hand says, no, it's better to make a gzer shava between the Zar and ultimately Adas Korach. Why? Because they were both ordinary people. As opposed to the Zar and the Navi. The Navi again is a chashuv guy. Right? Remember again, the only way the false prophet gets any kind of what's the word, like legitimacy, is if somehow he's proven himself as a gaver rabba, as a big guy. So therefore, Rabbi Shmuel will say better to learn out ordinary people from ordinary people. So the Zar from Adas Korach, and not to learn out the Zar from the Navi. To which the Gemara Rabbi Akiva, Kevin Shediach Ein Lecha Hedyot Gadol Mizeh. Incredible. Rabbi Akiva says, well, maybe this Navi once upon a time was a big deal, but once he's now trying to convince Jews to worship idolatry, there's no more ordinary of a person than this. Very, very profound. Very profound. So the Gemara says like this. So it's almost as if Rabbi Akiva is saying to a certain degree, it's like your identity and your status cannot simply be based on past accomplishments. Your identity and your status is fundamentally tethered to what you are here and now. Incredible Yisod. So the Gemara goes on. So by the way, now we understand that we have a fundamental machlokas ultimately between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Fine. Now, but in actually the false prophet himself is machlokas Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Akiva says skila, Rabbi Yochanan says chenek. So what's going on over here? To which the Gemara says, what's their machlokas? The Gemara says, Michael Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yochanan. They're arguing, their machlokes is the machlokes Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbanan. What's their machlokes? The Sanyo, Navi Shediach Skilo. If the Navi tries to convince people to worship idolatry, he's killed with Skilo. Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Chenek. Rabbi Shimon says, no, Chenek. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Chenek. Ha'anan Tanan, Rabbi Akiva over Rabbi Chenek. Oh, 1 second, we have on record that Rabbi Akiva also says Chenek. So you just said before that Rabbi Akiva holds that a Navi who tries to convince people to do idolatry ultimately is killed by skila. But yet Rabbi Akiva's on record in the Mishnah as saying that it's a chi of chenek. Shrei tamei v'alibid Rabbi Akiva. Truth is, there's a machlokes Rabbi Akiva said. 2 different tanoim. One tanos that Rabbi Akiva holds that a false prophet is chai of skila, and one opinion said Rabbi Akiva holds that he's chai of chenek. Masnisim Rabbi Shimon v'alibid Rabbi Akiva. Raisa Rabban v'alibid Rabbi Akiva. Okay, our Mishnah reflects the view of Rabbi Shimon's understanding of Rabbi Akiva. And the Bryce reflects the Rabbanan's view of Rabbi Akiva. Incredible. So I will say, halacha l'maisa, how do we pass this? In this last case over here, in this last case, The Rambam asking like the Chacham, that if a Zar goes ahead and does the Avodah in the basement, does not does the Avodah in the mikdash, then Allah for Lamaisa, he is Chayiv Nisa Bidei Shom. Okay, Rabbi say, Hajj Rabot Elohim and Sofin, Mazel Tov Imam. Now we begin on the base, we down on the base, 84, new Mishnah, okay, so now what we are clearly doing is we are moving Baruch Hashem, through the various missiles based. So now the Mishnah says, these are the individuals who get penalty. But there is a short translation a little bit. And then I went on with what I was doing, and I turned around and spoke about strangulation a little bit, right? And then you have the cloth around the neck, tied the rope on both ends, and ultimately strangled using the cloth. Again, we'll get more into this later on. So we must say, so who gets penalty? Again, we'll talk more about the actual penalty of penalty. Who gets penalty? When is there penalty liability? Hamakis only. Come on, a person hits his father or his mother. Only nefesh himself, kidnap someone. Zakim Mami Hapi Bezi. So we're going to talk about Zakim Mami Hapi Bezi. This Zakima is the method if you have a situation where the Bezi rules a certain way, and there's a particular judge in the minority. Remember again, the way that it works is like we follow the majority. What happens if you have a judge who refuses to yield to the majority? He refuses. That's called the Zakim Mami. So again, the judge was put to death with again, more about that later. Navi Ashakar, false prophet, which again, interestingly enough, ties into what we just learned before. The Mishnah reflects that view. And ultimately killed with Connect. Someone who prophesies in the name of idolatry, Rabbi, someone who commits adultery, the Zoe Baskoi. So remember again, this last case is interesting. The Zoe Baskoi, remember again, we have this case that Allah for Maisa. A Baskin who commits adultery is given the unique punishment of Srifa. What happens if Rachel, right? We call Rachel's the Baskin. Witnesses show up, relations show up, and they think that Rachel's committing adultery. So they're trying to make Rachel liable to Srifa. Now until we get that two more witnesses to it, there's a limitation. Impossibly, you cannot have seen Rachel commit adultery. Why? Because at the time you're seeing that she committed adultery, you were with us. You went away, you were with us. So now generally again, so even somebody get a reciprocal punishment, which seems to indicate that Allah Almighty just like they wanted to give her Srifa, so can they should Srifa. But we'll see again, we'll see this more in the Gemara, but we'll discuss the idea that the last seeking that is only the best kind of self-interest. The Ibn Zoman don't get Srifa, rather what do they get? They get penance. Same idea, Ba'ala. Same thing, the man who commits adultery is the best. He's also put to death, but not with Srifa. The Srifa is unique for her, rather than getting death. Okay, incredible. So how do you know that if one hits, like literally one strikes their father or their mother, that Allah will make the penalty? Hopefully it's a death penalty. Incredible. For striking one's parent, death penalty is kind of. Where do you know this from? It said, Mak your other Mosimas. The Pasuk says, if you hit your father or your mother, you're put to death. Only someone who got a stam, ain't no alachem. And in general, it's actually very interesting. In general, whenever the Torah gives you unqualified death, whenever the Torah says you put to death, if it doesn't give a specific type of death penalty, it kind of gives the default discount. We've seen that before already. The default discount. The Gemara says, Emo, I have the Kotale Mikto. What's that? How do you know? Maybe even when it says, Mak your other Vidma Mosimas, make your mother and father, you put to death, you're going to put them and you kill them. Otherwise, a person hit their parent and kill their parent. That's what is the death penalty, for which the Gemara says, so here's the problem. The problem is that, what does that mean? The person kills his father's side of Shedek. Now, the Gemara is operating under the assumption that Shedek is considered to be a more lenient form of death. What that's going to say is, if you kill a stam person, a regular person, not your father, you're executed by Sarif, a more common form of death. If you kill your parents, you're tied with Shedek, you're like, a more lenient form of death. What does that mean? So, one second. How do you kill a number of Shedek cow? Now, that's fine if you understand that Shedek in general is a more lenient form of death penalty. Alamandana Taik Hammer might even less, but if you say this Taik is more Hammer, then what is there to say? Ella, so says, so just trying to unite over here, here's what I know. Pasuk says, if you hit your mother and father, you're put to death. Stam unqualified death penalty is Taik. Well, we're trying to figure out over here, so what does it mean you hit them? You hit them and you injure them, or you hit them and you kill them? Which the rest is very useful. Elam is said, not get ish vames, most humans. It said, over Eva he called Nado Hayamos. So also, this is very interesting. Look at other cases where the person said hitting. And notice he was treating lots of the Torah uses. Right? In Maki Ishmael, if a man hits his fellow and the other person dies, then the hitter is put to death. Or over Eva he called. If he hits someone in a mastery, right? You know, like always there, Hayamos, and he dies. And if you notice, both of these concepts, what do you see? You see that there's a qualifier. Pasuk says, and knew they hit Shimon, and what happened? Shimon died. So there's a qualifier, which indicates to us what? The fact that there needs to be a qualifier, Ruvain hit Shimon and Shimon died, indicates to us that in the stanzas, where it just says Ruvain hit Shimon. And what does that mean? That means hitting without death. Hitting without death. Incredible. So the Gemara says, so now what I have over here is this thought. So now, let's just prove this first one. Remember, we're supposed to be in the show trying to figure out who's liable for someone. First case, the person hits his father or his mother. Where do I know that from? Not the other people most. The person hits his father and mother. That's about killing them. Because if it was killing them, it would have said Maked Vayamos. The fact that it just says Maked is just hitting with an injury. And what's the halacha? Most you must, when Torah gives you an unqualified death penalty, that automatically means Chenek. So we've proven his first line in the show. Incredible. Now, by the way, about the Gemara says, if you get the mitzvah, Makelish, make sure the mitzvah called Makenet. That's interesting enough, the Torah says there seems to be two redundant sukkahs. On one hand, it says Makelish Vames Moslim. If you hit someone and you die, nobody put to death. And then it says the Chomake Nefesh. Right, the Torah says the Chomake Nefesh. The people get right here. It says how it says. Suppose it says if you kill a nefesh, so it says right. It says Maki Ish Vames. If you hit an Ish, a man, and he dies, you're put to death. And then it says Chomake Nefesh, which seems like if you kill a person, you're put to death. Why do you both of those psukim? So we'll say this is fascinating. Because of Rahman and Maki Ish Vames. If the Torah would have just said Maki Ish, if you kill that Ish means a man. If you kill a man, you're put to death. I would have thought like this. Havamina ish the bar mitzvahim kafalo. I would have thought like this: when are you liable for killing someone? When you kill a man. Why? Because a man is liable to a whole bunch of mitzvahs. So it makes perfect sense. Kafalo. But if you kill a child, you're not liable. You're not liable, right? The child's not chayav the mitzvahs. Therefore, different Torah says no. What is nefesh? Nefesh means anyone, right? Any living thing. So even if you have some to a child, you're also chayav. Listen to this. Because of Rahman and nefesh, if Torah would have just said Chomak and nefesh, I would have thought like this. How about me? I feel it is falling. I feel it is shmona. I would have thought that it is until a fetus. Right? Whether this is in utero, right, or a fetus that has not yet been proven to be viable, or a baby was born after 8 months. Now, the Gemara operates under the assumption that a baby born in 8 months is a non-viable. It's not going to live. So I would have thought that you would be chayiv to killing even a fetus that's not proven to be viable, or a fetus in utero, or a baby born in the 8th month. The Gemara says, therefore, tzrichi. Therefore, Allah I need both. So interestingly enough, so Chomak Nefesh teaches me I'm chayiv for going ahead and killing all viable things. Right? In other words, say differently. Really, I need both, right? Because if it would have just said Makiish, I would have thought just adults. Therefore, it says Kol Nefesh. But if it just said Kol Nefesh, I would have thought any living thing, even if it's not viable, Kamashlan, you're only chayiv if you kill a viable entity. Therefore, the rest of you need both of them. You need both of them. The Ema, Afadablo, of the Went back to parents' things. Now we've established, I'll tell myself, if a person goes ahead and hits his parents' constitution, maybe I should be liable, even if I hit my parents and don't cause an injury. I don't cause a wound. Gemara says, just for the act of hitting, there should be a death penalty. But 1 second, Allah Torah we learn, if you hit your mother or father, you're not chayav until you cause an injury. It's very interesting. If a person, let's say, slaps his parent, and there's no injury, there's no chabura, there's no injury. So again, obviously not good, but not chayav misa. Only chayav misa if you cause a chabura. To which the Gemara says, Omekra, Makya Adam or Makya. So how do you know this? Or if you understand over here that Makya Adam just means literally hitting one's parents, and every high Chanek, maybe it just means even if you hit them without an injury. How do you know that in order to be liable death penalty for hitting one's parent, you have to cause bodily harm? How do we know that? This is very interesting. Omekra, the pasuk says, Makya Adam or Makya Behema. The pasuk juxtaposes one who injures a person and who injures an animal. Just like if you injure an animal, there's only liability if you cause an injury, like you have to cause a wound. And you go and you slap a cow, all right, it's weird, but Lamaisa, you're not chayiv, there's no penalty, there's no monetary compensation for that. Just like Makya Behema, you're only chayiv if you cause an injury. So the juxtaposition, Makya Adam, you're also only chayiv for striking the person if you cause an injury. Incredible. The Tzuba, Gemara says, Ma Makya Behema ad Avid B'Chabura, the Tzibba Nefesh, Af Makya Adam ad Avid Chabura. So too again, there's only liability for striking one's parents if one causes an injury. So it's incredibly important. So what the Gemara is suggesting over here is that a person strikes their parent, obviously bad, but not a death penalty unless a person strike them and cause some type of injury. So I'm asking for Rabbi in 1 second. If that's the case, that we're jumping out to animal, that you're only liable for injuring an animal if you manage to cause a chabura, cause a wound, if that's the case, let's say I go over to Ruvain's animal and I roll Ruvain's animal up with a whole load of stones. So I'm not physically injuring the animal, but I'm diminishing its strength. You're going to tell me that there's no liability because there's no physical wound? How can that make the law mechayiv? You're going to say I'm not chayiv? Of course I'm going to be chayiv. Why? Because at the end of the day, I actively diminished the value and the strength of the animal. So you see, you're going to eat my animal if you don't cause a physical injury or chayiv. Hello. So if that's the case, I don't really need nefesh. I don't really need nefesh behema. Right? It says nefesh. Right? The nefesh process, by the way, is makin nefesh behema. So I don't really. This is interesting. I don't need nefesh behema to teach me that I have to cause an injury. Why? Because by an animal, the truth is, even if you don't cause an injury, but you clearly do something that subsequently diminishes the crop on the animal, you're going to be right. So if I don't need nefesh behema to teach me about animal injury, then what? So use it for nefesh adam. Use it for nefesh adam. So therefore, what I need to hekesh. So therefore, it turns out, interestingly enough, that the way we're learning this out, ultimately, again, is from nefesh behema. Right? So making nefesh behema will teach me that even by a person, I'm only chayiv if I injure. Right? If I hit my parent, I'm only chayiv if I actually cause bodily harm. Now, if a person just hits or slaps and there's no subsequent bodily harm from that, then Allah said there's not a death penalty involved in that. So if that's the case, so then what I need to hekesh between nefesh behema or makya adam what was the Russian? Right. Makya nefesh. No, I'm sorry. Makya adam makya behema. Right. So what? Obviously, the pasuk juxtaposes injury in animal and injury in a person. So what does that juxtaposition teach you? This is very interesting. This is fascinating. I'm sorry. So therefore, what is the hekesh? Makya behema, makya adam. So what is the juxtaposition of injuring a person, injuring an animal? What does that teach me? The first thing Gemara says is comes to teach me the ruling of the Bechizkiah. What's the ruling of the Bechizkiah? Take a look at Rashi just a moment. We actually had this before in the Gemara. The Baba Kamal liftar chaybe misos shogi geminat hasholim mamakim elokalata. So what's very interesting. So the Bechizkiah says like this. The Bechizkiah holds. We know there's a concept of kimli b'diradamido, right? Which means that Allah, if you do something that generates capital liability, you are exempt from any financial liability. But the Bechizkiah holds like this. Even if you do something b'shogeg, if it's the kind of act that had you done it b'mezid, you would be exempt from financial liability. Even if you do it b'shogeg, you're exempt from financial liability. Okay? And they were learning out from that hekesh. The Gemara says, that's fine, but that's fine if you hold like Tanat Bechizkiah. The less they Tanat Bechizkiah, but if you don't hold of the Tanat Bechizkiah, which many don't, or we'll say many reject that concept, and they say the only time that you're putter from monetary compensation is when you are liable to a death penalty. But if you did something b'shogeg and if you're not liable to death, you are liable to pay. So if you reject that limud, then what do you do with the hekesh? Not the murder. Remember again, just to understand, we're just trying to figure out over here the person supposes injuring a person, injuring an animal. So what do I need that for? To which we must listen to this. Ooh, fascinating. Just like what happens if Ruben's animal is injured and I'm trying to help Ruben's animal, and I end up injuring it more. So if I injure the animal in the context of trying to do it, there's no liability. So the murder ends up the justification the same thing with the person. If I'm trying to help someone and I end up injuring them, I'm not liable for that injury. That's the juxtaposition. So the murder says, be violable. Then, listen to this case. Then, so let's listen to this. Let's say again, let's say we have a father Avram, and Avram has a son Yitzchak, and Avram is ill, and he needs bloodletting. You're going to remember again, bloodletting was the preferred manner of all medicinal healing. And now Yitzchak wants to help his father. What's the problem? What did we just say? That if the son injures his father, right, he's drawing blood, his son injuries, but here the son's intention is not to injure his father, it's the opposite. His intention is to help. So is he allowed to do this or not? So the Gemara says, the Master says, yes, it is permitted. Why? Because again, you see another yid in distress, you can help them out, especially if that yid is your father. What's the shayla? Of course, you should help. Rabbi Batinana Amar, Maki Adam and Maki Behema. The Rabbi Batinana says the juxtaposition. Torah says Maki Adam, Maki Behema. Juxtaposition. He teaches us what? Maki Behema are the four partners. Just like if you injure an animal in the course of trying to help, in the course of trying to do with your partner, Maki Adam, you're the four partners. So if you injure someone in the course of trying to heal them, you're a partner as well. So everyone saying it's interesting. Both of these opinions are agreed, namely that a son is permitted to go and do bloodletting on his father, even though he's going to quote unquote injure him. But since the injury is for medicinal purposes, therefore it is going to be mortal. Incredible. So it's like, so just to finish, this fragment, this you should know, we'll do this more on Wednesday. But this sugya is a fascinating sugya because again, let's say again, a son is a doctor, he wants to treat his father, he's about to treat his father. Or again, a child is a nurse and wants to draw blood. Or just even not a nurse, a child is caring for a parent, right, and wants to go ahead, test blood sugar, like different things like this. Is a child allowed to do these things for a parent, knowing that essentially you're doing a chabura, you're quote-unquote injuring the parent, even though the injury is not for injury purpose. The injury is ultimately for refuah, but is a child allowed to do it or not? Now, both of the opinions mentioned here seem to indicate the answer is yes. It's just the shayla. First opinion says, of course it's permitted. You have to have. Second opinion runs out from the Hakesh, the comparison between Makar and Makar Behema. But listen to this. The Gemara says, Rav, Roshavik Libre the Mishkale Silu. So Rav would not allow his son to remove a splinter from his hand. Right? So if Rav got a splinter, he would not let his son remove the splinter. Why not? Because again, it could cause an injury. Marbri Ravina, Roshavik Libre, the Miftach like Kapsa. So similarly, again, Mar, the son of Ravina, would not allow his son to literally open up a boil. Why not? Because if he would do it, has to show him. If he could do it, or he wanted to lance the boil, open up the boil to get the punch. He wouldn't do it. Why? Because if his son would perhaps be a little bit too aggressive, he could cause an injury beyond the boil. So this is fascinating. So two great rabbanim who would not allow their children to help them, taking out a splinter, lancing a boil, because of concern that it could cause a chabura. You must have 1 second. If that's the concern, that someone may end up injuring someone and trying to help them, then it's not just them and the son. Then no one else should be able to go and lance the boil, take out the splinter. Someone else should also not be permitted to take out the splinter or lance the boil. To which the Gemara says, no. Acher shigagaslam.
Yo, what up? How are you, Big Dog?
Here's the big difference. Someone else.
Shalom, what's good, son?
Okay, it's a lot. And it's an accidental.
Excellent. Dude, just living life. How'd you find out about me? What place you remind me?
So on one hand, the Gemara asks, the son allowed to essentially injure his father for the
An anime server?
first
Okay,
two
very well.
opinions, yes,
Did you watch it? Cool. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
But yet again, you see Rav not allowing his son to take out this split, and Rabbi not allowing his son to announce the boy. So again, we're gonna stop over just like today.
Are you kidding me? They had like a whole dedication to Latin America. The entire halftime show was in Spanish.
That Allah again, a son is not allowed to take into a parent which could potentially result in parent.
Dog, I had an Australian in here. You know the Australian, there's going to be an NFL game in Melbourne next year? All right. Very well. All right. What about the Winter Olympics? Do you know that there are 56 Australian athletes competing?
And causes physical injury.
Baby, I'm into everything cool.
I'm going to finances and money and politics.
All right, well, I'm into. All right, well, I'm into everything, baby, and that shit's cool too. All right, have you been on Twitter Spaces recently? Yes or no? Go.
No.
Why not?
So I was
sponsorship info will be listed in Hashem.
All right, I mean, it's something you can listen to. You don't have to, like, do anything, but it's 24/7 Web3 discussion. Are you into cryptocurrency?
About 14 lines up from the bottom, two dots.
All right. All right. Well, and you're not in the Web3 Twitter Spaces? Okay, but what about like meme coins or
I used to maybe when
what if a coin so what's the
okay, what kind of business do you run? Oh, very cool. You have a big heart.
I think it's
Very well. Do you know what raw comedy is? Dog, it's Australia's biggest open mic competition. Man, you don't know anything about Australia. No, I'm just busting your balls. Do you not know what raw comedy is, though? Dog, you gotta get on board. It's Australia's biggest open mic competition. Do you know what comedy is? Who's your favorite Australian comedian? Okay, who's your favorite American comedian? That's hilarious that you think about. Okay, excellent. Do you know who James McCann is? He's from Adelaide. Yeah, I know. I'm having to teach you about your own country.
If somebody went ahead and violated prohibitions,
I mean, am I not? Am I not? I'm over here teaching you that you have 56 Olympians in the Winter Olympics. I'm teaching you. Do you know about the JJJ? The music, radio. Fuck yeah.
Nothing. So here's the case of HaKadosh Baruch Hu said,
I saw he got his ass whooped.
Remember how we defined that case? What case of office is that this is a person who committed multiple acts of he violated the same curry.
There you go. Do you like UFC?
for Kares, Beis Din doesn't execute the person, but Beis Din does give Malchus.
You've
Such a
seen.
person is deserving of
I used to
and
follow
again,
this
he's a repeat offender in the case
All right. All right, very well. Are you excited for the White House UFC event, July 4th? Doug, I'm into everything cool. I'm into everything cool.
But yet again, we killed the guy, or
Really? What
what do you see from here? That even in the case where someone technically was killed by a British particle by the we will still
Doug, Nico, the guy from Venezuela.
No. I'm running into the
Yeah. What about him?
Remember again, that case was different because
Yeah, dog. We've known this for a long time.
I'm a color sorcery. So remember again, also here's an example.
It's arguable. We basically kidnapped their leader and staged a coup, and now we're running the country. We've done it to essentially every Central and South American government. Yeah, we basically have large corporations that want the resources of those places. They come in, they change the leadership, they put in some puppet leader, and that puppet leader does everything that the United States says. Word, dog. All right. So, yeah, I mean, we're all related. We're all related. There are over 3,000 of us in the United States alone, thousands of us globally. It's a pretty common name within the Ashkenazi Jewish community. It's like having the name Kennedy as an Irish person.
And you know how the main
Maybe they're a part of me.
Now, if Shishas responded, if Shishas said the answer is obviously,
but you
the answer must be no. So,
By DNA.
I'm sorry. The answer must be yes. Because the Mishnah said,
I have familial connections. That's even closer.
In Halacha, we saw Pirkei Kuna allowed to take him out and beat him to death.
And what do you do?
Baby, this is the biggest event in global history. I don't work. All my food's taken care of for me. I'm financially independent. I mean, what more do you want me to do?
Someone
This is what I enjoy.
Like, no one's forcing you to doing it
100%.
Okay, or I should say at least liable to the death. Liable to death at the hands of Hanoi.
I could be traveling the world. While I enjoy traveling, I really am a homebody. I like to learn. I like to be entertained. I like to be comfortable more than anything. So I make my time streaming my life 24/7 and meeting new amazing individuals who don't know anything about their own country like you. Now, let me ask you this, my man. I'm just busting your balls. What are your thoughts on Robert Irwin? I'll wait. You don't know who Robert Irwin is? Dog, he's like the biggest celebrity in Australia.
Like, I don't think people like really connecting.
So what's the
Dog. Do you know who Steve Irwin is? All right, so he has two children. Bindi Irwin, his daughter, and Robert Irwin, his son. Yeah, dog. So just living like a pimp, that's what I'm doing. Going into Twitter spaces, telling people about what I do. And
I think the world's going to change a lot in a couple of years.
well, of course it's going to change in a couple of years. Yeah, I know the best investment strategies in the history of humankind. It's called data. Aside from data, though, if you want to make a quick buck really as fast as possible, get in the pump fund and just whenever a coin is launched, buy it immediately and sell it within like 3 minutes. And you'll essentially every single time make at least like 1 or 2x. And then you just keep doing that. And no, most of them do. Right when they launch, they all go up. And so you just buy them right when they launch, and then you sell them within a minute. It's basically a cheat. It's a cheat code. Yeah, absolutely, it works. Well, yeah, because you didn't sell soon enough. Right?
So this is very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, you say to yourself, I'm going to ape into a coin. I am going to only be in it for 1 or 2 or 3 minutes until it 1x's, 2x's, 3x's. Then I'm going to get out. And so you just have to be happy with taking small exactly, but that adds up very, very quickly. It's a cheat code, dog. Dog, I know all the cheat codes. Again, data. Data is the biggest cheat code of them all. Data is more valuable than petroleum, dog. Train AI with it.
So, again,
you know about AI? I mean, you know how valuable AI is, right? Well, in 2018, The Economist magazine stated that data, specifically human data, overtook petroleum as Earth's #1 resource.
Failure to do so.
So, I mean, how much money do you want to make?
How do you invest in data?
Again, this doesn't apply to the list that we just made.
Dog, you create your own data.
Failure to do so results in
yeah, dog. So you basically recognize that human data is the most valuable asset in the world. And you create your own. You basically generate your own human data and recognize that it will be extremely valuable in the future. It's the #1 resource on Earth. It's more valuable than gold, silver, oil, cryptocurrency. Human data is #1. It's more valuable than water. It depends how much of it. It depends how much of it you have. There's another person in here. He recognizes it. His name's Spirit Man. Spirit Man live streams is like 24/7 on YouTube. He's been doing it for like 300 days. There's a lot of value in that data. I've been doing it 24/7 for like 1,500 days. There's a lot of value in that data.
But if it's there would be
the different social media platforms pick they pay you for it. No, you still own it.
The answer seems to be
So
Maybe they claim they the year and then they run their ass
and offers up a
to sell you.
companies
Companies that run that pay the big social media platforms for your videos and your data.
right, and then you get paid from that.
Rashi says over here, Elazar Nami, remember.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to recognize views can make you money, the data itself can make you money, endorsements can make you money. There are multiple profit streams from this. It's not just one profit stream. That's what makes it so valuable.
Because it says explicitly that if a non-Kohen engages in sacrificial service, against certain form of sacrificial
I think there are some people who are
right.
bring that and others is
Actually, the same.
and I think like I see, it seems like something very well that is
Of course. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. A lot of influencers bot themselves. In fact, the majority of influencers bot themselves so that they have what's considered a larger audience, and then they get more money from it. But the number one job in the United States that a young person wants to be is an influencer, and that is now the number one job as a global desired career. It used to be athlete. It used to be like football player or basketball player or soccer player. It's no longer. Influencers taken over. You can do whatever you want. You can talk about whatever you want. Literally, whenever you turn on the camera, money starts to get generated. It's like a free money glitch. Yeah, or whatever. I mean, like I'm sponsored by a cryptocurrency that's worth about $100 million. All I have to do is wear their shirt, which costs me nothing. I'd have to wear a shirt anyway, and have their pillows and comforter and stuff, and I generate money. Enough.
Is chayiv misa b'dei, which now, by the way, if we take that approach,
I thought about the system
it makes sense why
organic
so you can't make it today's right? Like,
you can
they don't. All you have to no. I disagree with you on that. What it takes is consistency. Consistency is the key. I mean, if you want to consider consistency as a skill, I agree with you there. You could be someone who has 1 million views on one video, which is fine. You can monetize that. But what's much more valuable is 1,000 views over the course of a year. And you might say, but why? Because you have a lot more content over if you create an entire year's worth of footage for people of the future to be able to study. Absolutely. Like, let's take it like this. You could have like data is very important. Like in the past, okay, let's put it like this. People in the past would write journals and diaries, and they would say like what the weather was like and what was going on in the world, and they would talk about their passions and their dreams. And you could have perhaps 100 pages of a really famous person, which is valuable, or you could have a lifetime journal of someone with maybe 10,000 pages worth of journals, and maybe they might not be famous immediately, but the fact that they had so much content over the course of their life becomes the backbone of many of our history interpretations. Like they're able to shape history due to their words. Maybe they weren't president, or maybe they weren't the king of England,
a Kohen was coming, makes truma, which is ritually pure.
like everything TV.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. From the 1970s until the late 20s, like the late noughts, and so for like 30 years, and that's become the backbone of the global television archive. And she worked for Apple Computer, and she and her family basically used the funds that she made from Apple to be able to take on this project. And now the reason why much of our video archive exists is because of her.
Someone who goes to the mikvah by day, but still requires hair of shemesh.
So she may not have made huge amounts of money over the course of her life. She did, though, because she had Apple stock and stuff. She lived comfortably, but in 100 years, she'll be seen as an icon.
The Kohen is lacking, or he's coming. It's different
AI, you don't do all that video footage and
That's exactly right. It already can. I can give AI a 12-hour video of mine, and it gives you minute-by-minute timestamps of everything that was going on, an analysis of the language, and summaries. I mean, it's incredibly powerful.
Remember again, the first thing when the Kohen comes into the base Mikdash in the morning, come to the base Mikdash in the morning, they go to the kir, they go to the big sink.
I think that it seems like everyone like a very normal,
and therefore,
really well. But it was a high like the day. You know what I mean?
You have to understand, it's about influence. If you're not live streaming right now yourself, but if you do it for 10 years straight every single day, you'll be a millionaire. Just about guaranteed. If you do it 24/7. And here's why. Because you'll have people who come to you to say, hey, I've seen what you're doing. I like your content. I have this cereal I want you to be a spokesperson of, or this clothing brand I want you to be a spokesperson of, or I want you to drive this car. And you're going to get on podcasts, and you'll get interviews. You will see perhaps exponential growth. You didn't know who Mr. Beast was 10 years ago. You can go back and look at Mr. Beast's first video, which is like in 2014, and he looks much younger, and he's just like, hey, everybody, I'm making a video for myself in 10 years. You do what you need to do, baby. It's your world. I just live in it.
An uncircumcised Kohen. Remember, again, if you happen in a situation now today, we know this is hemophilia. So we know, and again, obviously, genetically different. So, let's say the Kohen had older brothers who died as a result of this evil. So you recognize that now, again, that there is an issue in such a Kohen, in such a person, not the obligated to have this evil. Which is fine. It's not going to be but he's not allowed to be the apple. So any of these three people really are not allowed. So Orel, Onen, and Yoshib are not allowed to be the apple. But if they do so, it's not Chiyim to be Shemayim. Rather, again, it'll be a Balmul. What happens if a blemished coin does the apple? What's that about? Rabbi Omer B'Misa, the Chachamim Omrim Ba'as Hara. So Rabbi says, Misa B'Di Shemayim, and Chachamim say Allah. Fascinating. Okay. So again, we'll see all of this later on in the Gemara. But let's say somebody intentionally committed an act of evil. Remember again, evil is misappropriation of temple property. So let's say someone actively, purposely went ahead and took things like this property and used it. Rabbi Omer Rabbi says, the say no, it's allowed. How old? Okay, so now that's our whole list. Now let's dissect this. Number one, the first person in the Yisrael Shemayim lineup. First guy the first guy in Yisrael lineup is also a person who eats untied produce. So must be Noah. Where exactly do I know that from? So listen to this. How do I know that if someone eats tavel that is chai Yisrael Shemayim? So literally it says, do not profane the consecrated items of the Bnei Yisrael, that will be raised to Hashem. Future tense. The Gemara says, "Ba'asidim litrom hakosov medaber." The Torah is talking about produce that is going to have time removed from it. What's the definition of produce that is going to have time removed from it? Kol tevel. Kol tevel. And the Torah says over here, do not go ahead and profane it. Do not go ahead and profane it. And the Torah prescribes death penalty. So the Gemara says, Yolif, well, actually, the Torah doesn't describe death penalty. Here's what happens. Yolif, chilo mitruma. Make it zir shava. It says chilo by tevel, and it says chilo profane by truma.
Yo, what up, baby?
So it says chilo by truma. It says chilo by tevel, and you say mala.
Yeah, so you're over here. I'm telling you, like, the way to success, and you get it, but you don't. Okay, so 10 years ago, Mr. Beast, well, maybe like 12 years ago, he was worth nothing. He was living in fucking North Carolina, and he had nothing. Now he's a billionaire. He kept up with that dream. And I'm just saying to you, like, you want the easy way. The easy way is creating content.
So why don't you start the Lashon of also?
I'm having. Well, so you have to recognize it's the idea that it is human content that makes it valuable. AI cannot replicate human data. People think of it like this. You know how people pay a lot for handmade things, like watches and cars? Like the most expensive cars are the ones that are made by hand. The reason why is because it doesn't involve machines. People are willing to pay a premium for that. It has more value. Additionally, look at art. Like, people could be like, well, art can be created by computers, and it can be, but it's not as valuable as art that's been created by great artists. And the reason why is because people value the human touch, and the same is true with content. Yeah, you can create really cool videos using AI. There's no doubt about that. I think it's great. I do it all the time. However, no machine can recreate your reaction to it accurately. It's not real. And people recognize that. When they know that it's AI generated, they know that it loses, at least to human beings, it loses much of its appeal. That's one of the reasons why people value going to concerts and being able to see the actual artist, as opposed to listening to AI music or computer-produced music. It's because they can connect with the human. And we're at the point where, I mean, if you've heard of the theory, it's known as the dead internet theory. It's where much of the internet has already, for at least the last near decade, been replaced by robots and been replaced with artificial intelligence. And thus, we're moving more and more away from human content, and people long for that. People love that. Look, I can just tell you this right now. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got like 5 different people in this stream who just like being around a human. They could be just live streaming to like some AI model or whatever, but they don't. They like the human connection.
So therefore, again, Gemara says these are all the similarities that exist.
And that's just in this Discord. I've got another 20 different YouTube streams that are going, and random people in there who just literally like to know that it's a portal into someone's life and it's real, that anything could happen. That's the thing. It's anything could happen and it's real. It's part of history. Anybody could say like, hey, we're just going to, play anime or play a cartoon or play perhaps a movie, but that's predictive. It's generated. Anything could happen in this stream. I could say anything. Any random person could come in here, and that's exciting.
Interestingly enough, Truma, I remember talking about why not because Kabbalah and Nosar had commonality.
In many ways, yeah, there are similarities to that, and then you don't get in trouble, and people like that.
furthermore,
and enjoy like troll company when they'll be
neither can be remedied.
That's right. I mean, look at old photographs. Okay, people like old photographs because it's like a snapshot of history. And that's what these live streams are. It's a snapshot of history. People will study this decades and centuries and millennia into the future to understand what life was like in 2026 and 2025 and 2024 and 2023 and 2022 and 2021 and into the pandemic. I mean, that's going to be really important for society.
Right, but there are more similarities between Tevel and Truma than there are between Tevel and Yosar. Therefore, they make you consider Tevel and Truma.
In many ways, but it's not just about my life. It's about world history events. 24/7, I keep the radio on in the background that captures the news world events because there's been evidence of historical revision, and I don't like that. I like historical accuracy. So I want somebody to be able to go back in my stream and know exactly what was going on, not just in my life, but what was going on in world history. And if somebody tries to manipulate that in the future, somebody can go back to my stream and say, no, that's not how it played out. Yeah, I mean, 24/7, I'm live streaming on YouTube.
Goes ahead and eats.
Dude, you don't even know this? Okay, go to at the top of this stream, or pardon me, at the top of this Discord. Do you see under welcome there's a red circle that says 24/7 YouTube streams?
How do we know that halacha?
Okay, click that, and then do you see a link in there? Click that link. Look how many live streams I have going on YouTube right now. Right. So you can see my life from 360 degrees, 24 hours a day. And you may say, well, Rabbi, you only have like 100 followers on each one of these accounts. I know. I recreate an account every few months or so that I don't lose it all. If somebody wants to come in and ban my account for copyright or some other misinformation, whatever they may want to do, I don't lose all of the data. So it's basically redundant, and I have many different streams, and that I get paid for those on some of the platforms. And more importantly to me, far more importantly, the money doesn't matter to me. I don't even collect it. It just sits in a pool. What's important to me is the fact that my life is. I mean, I live comfortably. That's all I care about.
So again, therefore, Allah when we speak about
I'm taken care of. I don't have to worry about. I don't have a boss. Nobody wakes me up. That's the key. That's the freedom that I enjoy. I don't have a boss. Every single person in this world has a boss, but I don't. Exactly, but I don't. Nobody wakes me up. I do whatever I want. I wake up whenever I want. I eat whatever I want. I'm able to communicate with anybody I want. I mean, I have religious restrictions, but those are ones that are, imposed on me traditionally. And if I wanted to, I could break them. I recognize that I have the freedom to do that, but I enjoy the fact that I'm part of a religion, and that's important to me. And every single person on this earth, every Israeli, every Jew has at some point eaten something non-kosher, because the fact that some things are really difficult to detect, like a small aphid in broccoli would be considered non-kosher. Okay, so nobody has a perfect record in this world. But I do my best to buy kosher, eat kosher and maintain a kosher status and have for as long as I can remember.
Which says, no, so you're bringing up again,
Thank
you're bringing up a Mishnah.
I do my best too. I do my best. If you're wondering what just closed out, I just have to restart one of my cameras that is in this stream. So, when are you going to start streaming? That's my question for you. Yeah, and you know what? Okay, but I mean that's part of the reason why people might like you. Okay, so you're a business owner right now, and you do your best to help. And let's just be honest, in 12 years, you're not going to be a billionaire, right?
So the Pasuk says, speak to Aaron and his sons.
You want to be, but there's like, come on, be a realist. You're not going to be a billionaire in 12 years through your business. Like if you, no, wait, but that's a very good point. But no, come on, let's be realistic. You started a business. You might be a millionaire. Right, but even a millionaire, the odds of you being a millionaire in 12 years, I don't know, 25%, 50%, something like that. Okay, multi-millionaire. Let's say 100 millionaire. The odds of you being 100 millionaire in maybe 12 years are pretty low. You'll probably get up to like 12 million, 15 million, 30 million, and get comfortable. Absolutely. But if you just said to yourself, you know what? If I just took, I don't know, $10,000 or $20,000 and had a nice setup where I could stream my life 24/7, I would be a billionaire in like a decade.
Have to do again with the body of the individual. Both are a state of
I mean, look at Mr. Beast did it. Why can't you? If you botted yourself, you could easily be Mr. Beast in 12 years. No doubt. No doubt. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Beast is the biggest botter on YouTube. His company bots him. Yeah, I mean, does he buy the bots he did in the beginning? So, but I'm not even saying. There are arguments for that. Okay. You can recognize that if you were to say, I mean, you're a millionaire, so you have a business. If you were to say to yourself, all right, well, I'm going to just have a live stream going. You don't always have to be on the live stream. Like right now, I've got like 20 different angles, and of them, I just walked over there. I was on like maybe, I wasn't on this one, I wasn't on that one, I wasn't on these, but I was on 3 others. You don't have to be on camera every single second of every single moment of your life. That's not necessarily what's super important. It's the fact that anytime anyone wants to watch your stream, they can. Even with Mr. Beast, with as much content as he has, if you're really dedicated, you'll watch all his stuff within a few months. Every single video of his. The same is untrue for my streams. You would literally, to watch every angle that I have to spend a century dedicating your life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to watch all the content that I've created. And it would even take longer than that. And that's just I've just been doing this for like 4.5 years or so. Just think about how much content I will have the opportunity to have made if I do this for 50 years.
So remember again, if I don't need this process to teach me that a Kohen who does
I mean, I don't have brothers or sisters. I'm independent. I mean, my cousins recognize that the data is really important to me, and I would say generally my family is very positive towards it. It's like archiving human history. That's a very cool thing.
Incredible. So let's say again, like I said before, this past week's
Sounds like you are archiving some radio background, but it's also everything like the radio stuff.
Absolutely, 100%. That camera behind me is listening to the radio and transcribing every single word that comes out of it. And you can even get it now. This is pretty. I think phenomenal. Like there are some more advanced YouTube videos that I have. Like basically, YouTube is always adding different features. So in the future, they'll be able to make it so that all my videos are 8K, and they'll be able to make it so that I've already seen this where they have voice 1, voice 2, voice 3, voice 4, like however many different voices are going on in a different video. You're able to get the transcript of each one of them individually. So like right now, like the radio will be transcribed, but also my voice will be transcribed, and your voice will be transcribed.
That if a Kohen does the abode with us, he doesn't.
Basically, the direction of YouTube's already being used as AI to upscale videos.
Exactly. And absolutely. And once you get to 8K, the human eye cannot perceive anything more in depth than that. So we kind of hit a ceiling for what a human could even be able to detect with the naked eye. And we're not that far away. I choose not to at this point. Here's why. I mean, I could have. Yeah, I mean, look, before I started streaming, I was with a lot of women. And so I have like a memory bank of just excellent relationships with really beautiful women. And I know that when I go viral, which could happen any single day or any month or whatever, I'll be the most famous person on earth. Or arguably, I'll have more data than any person ever. I have more data than Mr. Beast. I have more data than T-Series. I have more data than PewDiePie. I have more data than all of them combined. You could combine PewDiePie and Mr. Beast and multiply it by 10, and I have more data than they do. And I'll be able to use my role as a global leader not only to be able to improve it, but have any woman that I want. I'll be the most eligible bachelor on earth. And every woman on earth, no matter, like, this is something that I've learned, no matter how tall a guy is, how athletic they are, how rich they are, the thing that a woman wants more than anything is to make her fucking friends jealous. And the best way to do it is to get with a really famous dude. Fame is an incredible aphrodisiac to women in many ways. It's the most powerful aphrodisiac. Every woman wants to be with the most famous man on earth. It is. Absolutely. Every woman, exactly. But essentially, what I can give women is the opportunity to be remembered in the annals of history. Just like if you wanted your name in the Bible and you did something of note, your name is in the Bible. In the same way, if I find you to be attractive enough, you'll be on my stream and you'll be remembered in the annals of history. Hundreds of millions of years into the future, when humans have been able to travel interstellarly and intergalactically, somebody somewhere will say, I want to see what life was like back in 2026 on Earth and know what was going on and what someone's life was like. Just like we had cave paintings or hieroglyphics or Renaissance paintings. Everybody wants a snapshot of what history was like in the past. And in the same way, my streams give people that opportunity. And any woman out there, if I were able to say to somebody, hey, would you like to be in a Renaissance painting? Absolutely, they would go for that. They'd want to be on the world's largest live stream as well. Now, do I live stream my life because I think it's going to get me a lot of ass? Absolutely not. I've had a lot of ass in the past. And it's great. It's wonderful. But at a certain point, there ain't no pussy like new pussy. You always get bored. You want to move on. What I don't get bored of is live streaming my life. And that's really, it's power. I'm able to talk about world peace. I'm able to talk about futurism. I'm able to talk about things like anti-gravity, antimatter, cryptocurrency, artificial narrow intelligence, artificial superintelligence, artificial general intelligence, things like.
Can I bring something like I have a thought that all of life right now is today.
That's correct.
And then you have a continuous streaming on you as one individual when it's already been recorded. So like how do you have tangible value in the market to have someone go to you?
Yeah, excellent question.
What's so unique?
Absolutely. People live stream their life. They don't archive the live streams. What makes mine unique is I archive mine. So if you're a Twitch streamer, and that's cool, and you're live streaming, and all the people on Twitch are live streaming right now, and that's really neat, right? Their streams erase after 14 days. And if you have a premium account, their top tier is 90 days. It's gone. It's like it never happened. Even with people who are like, hey, I'm going to do the world's longest YouTube stream. That's cool. It's not archived. And YouTube says that. Been there, done that. It's a difficult thing to prove. And additionally, the Guinness World Record Company is about advertising, and a lot of the things that I stream are copyright infringements. So like today, I watched the Super Bowl. That is not something that you're supposed to be streaming on YouTube. Did I do it? Yeah. And I just have a way around the copyright infringement, which is playing multiple things at the same time. Exactly. And that allows me to get around things. But I mean, like, I have friends of mine who have Guinness World Records, and it really hasn't done that much for their project. So I know that is something that I'll have officially in the near future. I don't really sweat that one out. What I think is really important, and what's important to me, is just maintaining the consistency of 24/7 streams. And every 12 hours, I restart my stream, and I start a new one. And that means that it's archived, that you can literally go back and watch what I do. The person in here, Spirit Man, what's important about his streams, and he recognizes he has to restart them every 12 hours. And he and I have been looking for people who do what we do, basically archive their streams every 12 hours. He's the only person I've ever met who is archiving their stream every 12 hours like I do. And he's been doing it 250 days. I've been doing it for about 1,600 days. He does it from one angle. I do it from 20 angles. I'm not putting him down. I'm saying if I wasn't doing what I was doing, his stream would be the most important stream in the world.
Why can't the coin? Why is it on the most basic level? We could be concerned that
See, so you're basically like you're ignoring history and its underlying.
Yeah, I would say so. And then I do it on so many different platforms. I don't just do it on YouTube. I do it on Rumble. I do it on Twitch. I do it on YouNow. I do it on Billy. I do it on so many different streams. I do it on Instagram. I've been live streaming on X, on a video live space of X for 360 days. No one's ever done that we can find an X space for 365 days on video. I mean, I have more video content on X than any person ever.
But when you have such profound closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why would you any other external?
And you have to understand how valuable this is going to be to people of the future. To understand aging, like I have myself on here for like basically 5 years of my life, and people will be able to study my aging, my eating habits, my drinking habits, my breathing habits, my sleep habits, which I think will be really important. Because not a lot of people stream themselves when they sleep. Every aspect of behavior patterns, every aspect of human interaction, every aspect of human existence is essentially archived on this stream and will be able to be studied by people in the future. It's incredibly valuable data. It is amazing. It is. Well, I appreciate that. And so what I'm saying to you is, you're a business owner. I understand you got to run your business 100%. What stops you from just getting a computer, a cheap computer, and then every 12 hours just archiving your life? You can always mute it if there's something that you don't want to have on camera, or you can stop the stream, or you can go into another room and talk with someone.
Like how do you archive your life? Like after you film it, like in stream it, do you use certain software to upload it?
It's automated, yeah. So like basically when you do a YouTube stream, so long as it's less than 12 hours, it's automatically archived. If you don't want it, then you delete it. So all you'd have to do is just get a computer if you don't already have one. You create a YouTube account. I recommend also creating a Rumble account, a Twitch account, and a Kick account, because then you'll have 4 times the audience. And when you first start, for the first few months, very few people are going to check you out, but then people will start to follow you. And every time you go live or start a new stream, more and more people will follow you. I mean, I have 2,800 people in this Discord. I have not had this Discord the entire time that I've been doing this. I've only had it for about 2 years or so. And I have 2,800 people in here. It's the middle of the night in the Western world, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in here, 6 people in here, not including you, who are, like dedicated to what I'm doing or in their own way, or just like being around me. They like not being alone. They like having a connection with people. It's really a beautiful thing.
What if a Kohen does the avodah in a ritual state of impurity?
Really?
So what's the halacha?
Hey, since you're actually in yourself, what do you normally do? What do you like to do?
Yeah, so usually when I awake, I first say a prayer. I then wash, do the hygiene things that I need to do, go to the bathroom. I do record a lot of that footage, but I can't upload it to YouTube because it's against their terms. So I just have it on a GoPro, or sometimes on Instagram or X. They have different things that you can put up. No, it's no big deal. If I shower, a lot of times it's just from the waist up. I sing in the shower, so that's content. Then once I'm done with that, I have my morning prayers that I say. So I down to tefillin, like we Orthodox Jews do. After what's called chakras, which is morning prayers, I teach a class anywhere between 1 and 3 hours. Like this morning was 3.5 hours on what's called nida, which is basically how a woman how a woman is able to keep kosher and basically a clean state of purity while she's having her period in a marriage. And I go through, it's not always on that, but that's just what today's lesson was. But I really, it's a class about Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism, and I've been doing that at least for 1 hour every single day for the last 44 days. To some extent, yeah. But it's not just like me with my eyes closed. It's literally like I go through biographies of great Kabbalists of Judaism, and I read their biographies on camera, and then what we do. That's not what it is. It's more about. It's about meditation, certainly. It's more, yeah. I mean, certainly. I mean, it's not like what you would think of with magic. It's more about studies of how to get closer to God and how to become enlightened, those kinds of things. And it's really the history of that as well. So I do that. I also have a lesson in Yiddish that I do every day. So if you know what Yiddish is, it's essentially German Hebrew hybrid language that was developed in the Ashkenazic world in the medieval period. So we have a Yiddish lesson. Then I have a video that we watch, a different video that we watch every day from basically a Hasidic dynasty. And so I've been going through all of the short lessons that are on Hasidic dynasty, of which I'm a part. Then what we do is we have an open topic. So like today was about women's issues, and it could be anything. In previous days, it was about like butchering of animals. It's been in the past as well about like AI and how AI affects us as Jews. I mean, it's all very religious, and so I do that anywhere between 1 hour and 3 hours every single day. Then I go into, sometimes longer, like today's was 3.5 hours. Then I go into Twitter Spaces. So if you know what Twitter Spaces are, they're basically like, usually they're audio rooms, but sometimes they're video rooms like the ones that I host. And they have things called chill-in shows, where you can go in and talk about yourself and promote yourself and promote your project. And so in the last 100 days or so, I've gained like 3,800 followers on X just doing that, which is a lot. These are real people. These are not bots. They're people who are familiar with what I do and are positive towards it. And so I'll do that for a few hours. Certainly have coffee and eat and, you know, those kinds of things. Then I have people come in here in the afternoon, and then it gets into the evening. And then I have been I play games with the people in here, usually every single night. And we catch up on our day and how everything went. But then we have games that we play. So, like with Miss Aquarius who's in here, we play bowling every night. We do a bowling game. But then with some other people in here, or they're not in here currently, we'll play pool, we'll play golf, we'll play like Go, if you know what that is. We'll play dominoes or dice. We'll play, like, they're mini games. So they're easy to run on your phone, and they don't like overtake your computer, and they're just pretty fun. I'm 40.
Now, Rav Sheshis responded. Rav Sheshis said,
okay, well, you'll be 40 someday, and you'll have a lot of this knowledge as well.
I'm sorry.
So, we do that, and then basically, then it's time to go to bed. And then before I go to bed, I'll either put a podcast on or some kind of history lecture. And then also 24/7, I have Jewish history lectures going on. So if you see in that other stream that I have, there's like someone talking on there. He's a rabbinical colleague, and I have his classes that are going 24/7. So literally, you can come into my stream, and there are a few things going on at once. There's basically Jewish practical law discussions. There's 24/7 as well, radio going that basically is archiving global history events. Then we have podcasts that I watch, like almost constantly. I've also got some other music that plays low in the background of some of my streams to just so I avoid copyright strikes. And then I'm live in a bunch of different Discords as well. So I'm live in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm live in like half a dozen other Discords. And the people who see me in those Discords either come in here or they'll see me from YouTube. So basically, anybody can come in at any given time. Now, if you're like, well, usually when I see you, there aren't many people coming in. And that's true, because it's 2:36 in the morning in the Western world. But if you come in when it's daylight, I'll get over the course of any given day at least a dozen or two random new individuals who come in here and we connect. And then I also coach people, I mentor people, and assist people in Web3 and getting jobs. So I review their resumes if they have them. If they don't have them, I help them to create a resume. I help them to create different job application accounts, and then I help people be able to promote their projects in Web3. And the way that I have them do that is I have them create a link tree and then about 30 different social media platforms, everything from Reddit, Imager, Instagram, Threads. Well, so that they can promote their own token. What this does when they create all this different social media, it's a 5-part strategy. 1, it allows them 30 different places to promote themselves. 2, it allows them 30 different places to promote their clients. 3, it gives them 30 new communication channels to be able to connect with new clients. 4, it allows them to dominate social media, search engines, and AI. And then 5, it makes it really difficult for them to be impersonated. So they do that, and I look it over, and once it's good, then I help them to join different communities in Web3 on X, on Discord, on Telegram. Okay, certainly. Do you have a link tree?
It only applies to certain types of
okay, absolutely. I'll send you what I send to everybody. Do you have an X? Okay. So, that's okay. And so I recommend that you create these, create a business account for each of these. So just for a moment, I'll send you a message on X.
That has another sacrificial right,
or not on X, on Discord. All right, and then I'll just send you what I send to everybody, and this will change the game. I mean, this, especially for your business. I mean, I know that like you're already a millionaire, which is great. I mean, that's wonderful, but this could push you to being a multi-millionaire. Pretty easily by just promoting your business better. Like, if you don't have an X for your business, you're not communicating well with people in the open world, and you've got to recognize that, nobody, like, you could run paid ads. Exactly, you can run paid ads, and that's fine, but why not allow these free websites to do the work for you? Instead of paying some SEO, instead of paying some SEO company tens of thousands of dollars a month to be able to promote your company, just do it yourself. So what I want you to do is go read through the message on Discord that I just sent you, and you're going to say, that makes complete sense to me. Now, I know I put in there how to get a job. I know you don't need a job, but just read through what I sent to you, and it should make complete sense. On Discord. Check your Discord messages. I recognize that. I appreciate that. I am only allowed to have 1,000 different friends on X or on Discord, and I'm already at the limit. But I did send you a message so I can message more people. So go read what I. Okay, so what you have to do at the very top, you see of your Discord, there's like a blue like chat icon. Click that, and then All right, so go and read it, and you're going to say, this is the key of how to market yourself, and it's all free.
Go ahead and take the carbon and put it on and
What
burn it
might
outside
help
of
people
the that there would be a take a look at that.
You're really good.
Thank you. I have a heart of a teacher. I mean, Rabbi means teacher in Hebrew, and I've been a teacher in the past, and I get a lot of joy in seeing people become successful using information that I help to share. I get a great joy out of that.
In other words, the only time that there wasn't the din of tumah, ultimately, again, is if it was
It's not saying because there would be people.
That's what you see from here.
Right. About to say they've been very inflammatory with
Absolutely. So we can talk about all that. Read what I just sent you, man.
That seems to answer the original question that Rav asked the Rav Sheshes. That was our original question. If a Kohen does the abode in a state of tumah, is he chayiv misa b'dei shamayim? And the answer seems to be a resounding yes. To which the Gemara said, "My love misa." Don't we see from here that if a Kohen goes ahead and offers up a carbon in the state of tumah, he's chayiv misa? Lo ba'ashara. No. It's not an issue misa. Actually, it's a lav. It's a lav. The Gemara says, "Elazar nami la'ashara." So you're going to say that if a non-Kohen does this, he also would only be in violation of a lav. Rashi says over here, "Elazar nami hadadai kinan hamakil in zaros." So the issue over here is, remember, we're grouping all of these things together. So if you're telling me now that if a Kohen offers up in a state of tumah, it's only a quote unquote only a lav, not in this tasting. So what does that mean? If a non-Kohen does this, it's also only a lav. Well, that can't be. The pasuk says explicitly that if a non-Kohen engages in sacrificial service, again, certain form of the sacrificial service, he's put to death. So Tzmar says, you're right. Hakidisa. They're not treated the same. Not treated the same. Mechlal, Gemara just makes an inference over here. Mechlal, the Yotzek Ubolel. Excuse me. So Gemara says, Mechlal, the Yotzek Ubolel Lav Nami Lo. So the Gemara says, well, so interestingly enough, we could infer from this that ultimately, again, Yotzek, remember, Yotzek is the pouring of the oil, Bolel is the mixing of the oil. Lav Nami Lo would also not be liable. Look at Rashi. Where it says, Yotzek Ubolel, the Kamer Makir Lav Ba'almahu, the Isbei. So apparently,
doesn't it make sense?
Yes, it's not even a lav. To which the Gemara says, is that true about Tanya?
I'll do it.
From where it is a lav.
You're welcome, big guy. I'm here to help you. So you run into issues, let me know. Everything that I tell you is free, and you'll never have to pay for it. So if you do that, you'll change your life.
And do not desecrate. Yeah. The Gemara says, you're right.
I agree.
Interesting. So apparently, Midoraisa, there's no biblical prohibition against someone who is pouring in the oil and mixing the oil into a common mitzvah, but rather against it to Rabbanon, and the pasuk is an asmachta. But that's not enough. Basically, Gemara is the kasha. Le'elohim shebemisa. So the Rabbi says over here, these are the people who are chayiv misa, okay, pretty explicit.
I'm a certified project management professional. I've won staff from the App Store and Google Play.
Which the Gemara says, Enochinami, it's a refutation. It's a refutation. So we'll say, it appears that the conclusion of the Gemara is that halach l'maisa, if a Kohen does the
I thought you were 30 something. I'm not
which now, by the way,
well, when we first met, I was 30
so that it
something.
makes sense why the Mishnah says Kohen sheshimish b'tumah ein echad
Oh, really? It just turns out 40.
What is based in Buddhism? There's no based in liability over here, but what can they do? Now, what's their license to do so? Since this Kohen is chayiv misa b'dei shamayim, therefore, halacha l'maisa.
All right, I mean, I'm not
the other time
that much older than
essentially
my 30s. I'm 44 days out from it.
I was supposed to say, I'll also point out over here something very interesting, another nugget of information, that halacha l'maisa appears when they come to doing sacrificial rites.
I remember when I was 25.
At least according to the Gemara over here, I have to look up I don't know offhand, but according to
Guess
how
what?
the Gemara passes over
It's
here,
the same when you hit.
it's
It's the same when you hit 25. It's the same when you hit 30. It's the same when you hit 40, and it'll be the same when I hit 50. God damn, it's the exact same thing. It's just another day.
there are services that follow after, but Shechita itself is a self-contained avodah. It doesn't follow the Shechita.
No,
Interesting enough,
no, I think that you can reverse aging and also perhaps be able to use mind uploading technology to be able to live indefinitely. So I don't really see aging as anything that really affects me.
Wait, so you're saying you have a way to become immortal?
Exactly. Essentially, it's known as, well, there's life extension technology. There's also reverse engineering pharmaceuticals, but there's oxygen therapy, human growth hormone, stem cells, cryonics, cryogenics, cold shock therapy, red light therapy, testosterone replacement therapy, peptides, nootropics, to get you to be like 120 years old at least. But with age reversing pharmaceuticals, someone who's 120 might have the body of a 50-year-old, but eventually your body's going to break down. And when that happens, then there's something known as mind uploading technology, which is already being experimented, which is where you, with your consent, you scan your brain into a computer like a CAT scan or an MRI, knowing where every atom is in your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system. For later download, is an android, an avatar, a cyborg, a cybernetic being, a clone of yourself, a robot, an ethereal being, whatever you want to be. But essentially what I'm saying to you is that there may be a future of digital immortality.
Remember again, the Gemara just going part of the race. Once again, it seems to be the
Thanks for that. I can tell you this, I've been doing this for 4.5 years and I've had many of these conversations. Sometimes I have multiple of these conversations within an hour. So I have rehearsed it quite a bit.
I think you have a higher experience.
Thanks, baby.
Different types of
I never tried cerebral license.
Cerebral license, please enlighten me.
It's a neuropeptide that enhances your ability to learn new things.
I have not been on that close-minded to it by any means.
Fascinating. Okay. So the Gemara says weiter. Unwashed hands and feet is chayim misa.
They might not be kosher.
If you do the avodah
If I mean, do you eat it?
The Kohen allows his hair to grow.
You can get peptides
Okay.
into your muscles.
Yeah, so generally that would be considered kosher under most halachic determinations. Kasher, generally the way that you're thinking of it has to do with eating or drinking and ice and how it's derived. Especially if the animal. Yeah, I mean, we have many people within the Jewish community who have to inject insulin, and perhaps they have to inject testosterone. That's all kosher, absolutely.
There's a lot
Okay, that's fine. What animal? Okay, that can run into, you can run into an issue with that. However, even some vaccines have some type of pig extract. And, yeah, there's that too. There's, at least within Judaism, something called pikuach nefesh, which is the doing something to either for the protection of the human life. So if you can make the argument that this is the only type of way to be able to protect your life, there's an argument to be made. But
What happens if a blemish
that's still probably considered somewhat experimental, and we just have to wait a few years, and there'll be some kind of synthetic version of that we wouldn't have to get it from a non-kosher animal, perhaps a synthetic way. All medicine basically evolves like this, and especially to avoid it having to be made by a non-kosher animal, so I'm not too worried about that. It's something that is just a matter of years for scientists to recognize that there is a market for it. I mean, not just Orthodox Jews who live by this, it's Muslims who keep many of the same criteria through halal. So that's a much bigger market for this type of technology than in Judaism is. The people who run these pharmaceutical companies many times recognize that these types of technologies are going to have their experimental phases, especially with types of animals like this, but eventually there are kosher alternatives that arise.
The Torah is talking about posts that is going to have tithes.
There's something else that's said if you know that's not the brain piece. So the Torah says right here, do not do not inject this do not do anything. The Torah prescribes death penalty. Well, actually,
there you go.
Prescribe death penalty. Here's what happens.
So it's insufflation.
It says chilul by tabel, and we say just like if someone's truma, whether it's a
so you lost like 8 pounds. That's great.
They're put to death. So Zir Shabbat
what it does is that it and you have GIP, which is lowest inflammation in your body.
Is it a GLP-1?
No, it's also GLP-1 it's like they want to make
there you go. And so, like, you know, that they having to inject something like that might have some issues, but just to show you the advances in science, like now GLP-1s in the United States are available orally, so you can just take a pill. So it just takes time, and I'm someone who doesn't really want to take too many risks when it comes to my health, but I will once, usually about 7 years have passed, certainly am open to different pharmaceuticals, different therapies, once they have been able to kind of work out the kinks. And in the same way, I think that the technology that I talk about, things like teleportation, space elevators, space tourism, are very similar. Like, I don't want to be the first person to teleport, but once 1 million people have teleported and I know it's safe, then I'll do it. Yeah, I mean, there are people who are going to want to be, you know, for lack of a better phrase, the guinea pigs of this, and some of them are going to have some complications. It's inevitable. I don't want to be one of those people. But once I know that thousands of people have done it, I'm willing to do it. You know, when trains were first developed, people didn't really know how the train would work, and they would think that their brain would fly to the back of their head if they got onto it, if they were going at such a speed. Many of the same types of questions arose in terms of air travel, but all of those issues have been worked out in the past 100 years or so. And as someone who believes that life extension and perhaps reverse aging and maybe even mind uploading technology are reality, I'm in no rush to be able to utilize any of these different types of technologies.
And therefore, it makes more sense to compare or to make the Gzer Shava between Tevel.
Like essentially, what I'm saying is that because the idea of reverse engineering exists, and I think once it's available to the general public, I'll be able to utilize it. There's no time limit on my life. I don't fear death. I know I could die. I certainly know I could die. But I think I'm at a very interesting point in society where we will be able to extinct death. Well, essentially not die. And if you think about that, makes us a new type of species. We no longer are Homo sapiens. We're something new. Because Homo sapiens die. That's part of being human. But if we don't die anymore, we're a different kind of species, and we evolve into something different.
Furthermore, again, right? You can't remedy Nosa by putting it in the mikvah. You can't remedy Teva by putting it in the mikvah. Truma, right?
All right, so have you created your link tree yet?
You're not allowed to eat it. So ultimately, again, he can go to the mikvah right now.
Baby, I embrace solutions. I reject excuses. And you can create all of that stuff within a day or two. Come back to me, and then I'll look it over. I'll make sure it's good. I'll make sure it looks professional. And we'll move on to the next step.
Comparisons between Tevel and Nosa as well, to which the Gemara says Hanach Rufishin. You're right, but there are more similarities between Tevel and Truma than there are between Tevel and Nosa. Therefore,
it was a test when I was in junior high, and it was extremely high. It was 160.
Tevel and Truma, then Tevel and Nosa. And therefore, again, that would be just like Truma.
Yeah, but yeah, but I mean, I do stupid stuff all the time, so I think that I might have just had a good day, or it was a test that I was perhaps well acquainted with taking. I really think that someone who has an IQ of 160 one day could have an IQ of 130 another day, simply because testing differs. But I have been exactly 100%. But I have had the ability in the past to show extremely high levels of intelligence.
From where do we know?
But again, let me with that. You know what? It's interesting that you say that. Yeah, a lot of times I go into these spaces and people are like, "You speak too quickly," or "You sound too posh." I was told that within the last 3 hours. I go into these spaces and people speak really slowly, and they're not used to speaking really quickly or reviewing the types of technology I discuss. And I talk about really futuristic topics. And I've got excellent. Well, I can tell you, when I go into a space, I have something that I've rehearsed for the last for some time, and most people don't have their pitch rehearsed as well as I do. But this is what I tell them. Hi everyone, I'm Rabbi ROTHSCHILD. If you don't know who I am, you will. I stream my life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for world peace. I've been doing so for more than 4 years. My streams go back to the pandemic. We've seen the death of a queen, the birth of AI, the coronation of a king, and everything in between. This is a real life Truman Show, a real life Big Brother. This is a timeline and a time capsule of human achievement. In the 1990s, the phrase "content is king" was coined, and I'm making a true today. I'm king of the internet. This is the biggest event in global history, and here's why. In 2018, The Economist magazine stated that data had overtaken petroleum as Earth's #1 resource, and I have more data archived on the internet than any person ever, which is making me very influential. I'm going viral, and when I do, I want to make you, your friends, your family, all financially independent if you're not already. I want to ensure that you have generational wealth if you don't already, and I want you to be able to start charities and philanthropic organizations of your own. I'm unlike any influencer you'll ever meet. I'm not live on one YouTube stream or 2 YouTube streams. I'm live on over 20 simultaneous YouTube streams 24 hours a day. You can view my life from 360 degrees. I even have a ceiling cam. If you want to view my YouTube streams, the link's available in my profile. Additionally, you'll find it in my pinned post. You'll also find in my pinned post a link to my link tree. I dare you to look at my link tree. Nobody dares you to look at their link tree, but I do, because I have more social media than any person ever. I have more content than any person ever. You'll also find a link to my Discord, discord.me/Rabbi. I'm proud to say that we have over 2,800 people in our community and continue to grow each day. In addition to making you all extremely wealthy and wanting to promote world peace, I want you to know that I want to help end world hunger through the use of technology, such as agricultural drones, floating greenhouses, saltwater greenhouses, hydroponics, vertical farming, cloud seeding. I want to help end world thirst. I'm sponsored by a cryptocurrency that's worth about $100 million, and one of the things that we do is we build wells and water towers in developing nations for the benefit of the less fortunate. Additionally, I'm an advocate for the Life Straw program, and most importantly, desalination technology, where we pump Earth's seawater onto land and make it drinkable. If you are a reply guy, if you're a Web3 marketer, if you're a raider or a shiller, and you want a free mentor, coach, and friend, send me a follow. I will follow you back. Send me a DM. I will respond. I want you all to know that I'm here to support you both personally and professionally. I'm here to be a positive person in your life. I'm here to have an optimistic view on the future. And most importantly, I want to give people hope. And with that, I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to share. And when people hear that, they're like, what the fuck was that? And I recognize that. Not everybody has their pitch down that well. Not everybody's...
So when you say
I agree. I agree. In fact, I got a nickname. People call me AI. They literally come in and they're like, Rabbi, we know you're AI, but we would not, we know you're not AI, but we would not know that based on how you speak. We literally have to go into your profile and see that you're live on camera for us to know that you are not a robot. And I recognize, okay, I mean, I can speak slowly and I can adjust my message to the audience, but in general, I got things to do, I got people to see, I've got goals to accomplish, and I don't have time to mess around. So I want to be fast, I want to be to the point, and I have a lot to cover as well. And a lot of times these people don't have the time to be able to listen to you, but if they do, and they say, wow, Rabbi, that's really fascinating, please keep talking, I'll say to them like something like this. In addition to being an app developer and a rabbi, I'm a futurist. I'm someone who likes to study the future. Things like anti-gravity, antimatter, faster than light travel, faster than light communication, things like teleportation, space elevators, space tourism, terraforming of other planets, interstellar travel, intergalactic travel, things like artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence, cryptocurrencies. That's exactly right. I mean, I come from, I would say, a successful family, but we're no different, perhaps, than anybody else. And I have I've studied a lot. So let me finish my pitch and then we'll go through all that. Things like artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence, cryptocurrencies, things like Santa Claus machines, replication, things like de-extinction. People don't know this, but the first successful de-extinction took place in the year 2003 with the Pyrenean ibex, which was a goat located in northern Spain, southern France. Fast forward to the year 2021, a company out of Dallas, Texas, is founded known as Colossal Bioscientific. They've made it their goal that within the next 2 years, or by the year 2028, to reintroduce the woolly mammoth into the Arctic Circle, utilizing Asian elephant surrogates. I just think this is a mind-blowing goal, and I'm really excited to be able to witness it. Following the reintroduction of the woolly mammoth, they want to reintroduce the Tasmanian tiger, followed by the dodo bird, which I think will be really exciting to be able to archive. In addition to talking about subjects such as the series, I like to talk about things like life extension technology. When you all were born, the average life expectancy for you or someone like you was probably about age 80. I would increase that with your consent, utilizing different resources such as oxygen therapy, human growth hormones, stem cells, cryonics, cryogenics, nootropics, cold shock therapy, ambrosia therapy, testosterone replacement therapy, to get you to be 120 years old. But 120 years old, you may say, Rabbi, my body's starting to break down. What's the next plan? And again, this is with your consent. If you don't want this, it should not be forced on you. But if you want, you should be able to utilize a type of technology known as mind uploading technology, where we scan your brain into a computer like a CAT scan or an MRI, knowing where every atom is in your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system for later download. As an android, an avatar, a cyborg, a cybernetic being, a clone of yourself, a robot, an ethereal being, whatever you want to be. But essentially what I'm saying to you is that there may be an opportunity at digital immortality. What are your thoughts? When I say that to people, I can tell you, I got it rehearsed. Like, you can tell, like, I've said it more than one time. But people are just like, oh, why wouldn't you be? The fact that we won't die, perhaps, in the future, what's not to, that's amazing. Every civilization. Absolutely. They want to know about the next meme coin or the next token or how you can get them, $5 for a job. I'm someone who doesn't give fish away. I teach people to fish. And I want somebody to be able to put food on their table because they earned it, not because somebody gave it to them. That's why I give them a structure to be able to be successful. And in the last 100 days, I've helped over 100 people to be able to get jobs in Web3 and careers, not just in Web3, nurses, teachers, translators. I mean, one guy is from Iraq. He was in construction. Now he works for the United States Embassy in Baghdad as a translator. He's working on coming to the United States. I've got another guy who was in Tunisia, who had a dream of coming to the United States. We talked about it. A year went by. He came into the stream. He's in California. We're basically neighbors. Basically, like, I'm able to change people's lives, and that's really exciting. I've had people who are nurses who don't like being nurses who have been able to quit their jobs to be able to pursue Web3 just as a social media marketer. People pay them because they created 30 different social media platforms, and people pay them to promote their different projects. I'm about solutions, not excuses. And so many people are about the here and now and the making a quick buck. And that's cool. I understand that, but I'm playing out the long term. I have a mindset like someone similar to Mr. Beast, who's like, hey, if I keep doing this consistently for 12 years or whatever, I'm going to be a billionaire. I think that if I do this for exactly, but I really feel this way. If I do this for 12 years, I'll be not a billionaire, but a trillionaire. Oh, 100%. I think I might see them there. And the reason why I say that is I'm talking about $1 trillion in the bank. I'm not talking about stock options. No, I'm talking about cold hard cash. And if people recognize that I can revolutionize. Yes. Well, so I have what I need. I live comfortably. I would like to do more good in the world, though. And so the plan would be essentially to create a 501c3 which is in the United States a tax setup where you essentially create a charity or not-for-profit. And we have essentially like a global fund to be able to help the people of the world with desalination, with agricultural drones, hydroponics, vertical farming, housing, all the things that I talked about, and really revolutionize people's lives. And that's what I would like to do, and that's what I want to live stream. It's an incredibly interesting project. And when people say, "All right, Rabbi, so you're going to make us all rich, how are you going to do it?" It's not just one way. It's in 4 different ways that I see it currently, and it could expand. But there are 4 revenue streams. There's the data monetization, which is giant. Data is worth more than petroleum. Basically, what I'm saying is that I'm sitting on an oil derrick. I'm sitting on a gold mine with all of the data that I have. Secondly, there's the social media. I have more social media than any person on earth. I have over 100 YouTube accounts, over 200 Instagram accounts, over 500 Twitch accounts, over 1,000 TikTok accounts, over 2,000 Twitter accounts, over 5,000 Blue Sky accounts, and over 10,000 Kick accounts. I have more social media than any person ever, and much of every single one of these accounts has a lot of content on it. I mean, tens of thousands of posts. As we're speaking right now, I'm posting to Instagram. What am I posting to Instagram? I just literally post videos of myself with songs over it, and it gets likes. It just organically, I get 25 likes per video. Literally, I'm talking, and it's not even playing my voice, but I just play a song over it, just some popular song, whatever it may be, and I get interactions that way. And I can tell you, I have so much content, it will take generations of people to go through it all. It's just a giant treasure trove. And so I'm going to be able to monetize that. Additionally, endorsements. Yeah.
What do you think about hiring someone to stay on in 2027?
No. Then they're going to become famous. You want that data. It's important for you to do it. No, you can't. Nobody cares about that. They care about you. You're the character. It would be like this. Do you know what Sesame Street is? Okay, you know, with like Big Bird and Cookie Monster and Bert and Ernie and all those guys. Okay, so there's something called the Children's Television Workshop that runs all of Sesame Street. But nobody cares about that. They care about Big Bird, and they care about Elmo, and they care about Cookie Monster. They care about the people on camera, or the beings on camera. Does that make sense? So let's say you were to pay some Filipino person $1 an hour or $10 an hour or whatever you want. That's fine. That person is going to be the one who becomes influential, and then they'll eventually break off from you and do their own thing independently and just live stream their life. And you will have given them all of the tools to become influential, but you won't have any of the influence that they have. They basically will have been able to be the creators. And just to finish up on how else I plan on making people rich, endorsements. So I currently am a spokesperson for $100 million cryptocurrency, and I'll be able to basically not just endorse cryptocurrencies in the future, but things like Honda and Pfizer and Deutsche Bank and the NFL or whatever else I want. And I really anticipate wearing like an F1 suit, if you've ever seen like an F1 driver, and just while I'm on stream, be able to promote these different companies 24/7, take all the money from that and put it in the 501c3, basically the big pile of money. And then the final way I'll be able to do it, I'm at the epicenter of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And what I say will turn to gold. I'll have the Midas touch. Basically, any single cryptocurrency that I endorse is going to green candle. So what I'm saying to you is, when I say that there's a very good chance that I may be the world's first trillionaire, and even beat Elon Musk, that you may say, wait, but the Tesla stock's worth a lot. Okay, I understand that. But I'm saying he doesn't have $1 trillion in the bank. I'm talking about having $1 trillion in the bank. That's what I consider to be a trillionaire. I don't care if you have real estate or... Yes, that's fine, but he doesn't. That's the thing. I'm not talking about perhaps anticipated profits. Look, if the Queen of England... No. He is generally secular. He does not have a Jewish background. He's South African. Okay, what about it sounds Jewish?
So what happens? Every day he comes in the first thing he washes his hands and his feet.
Okay. I mean, there's no Elon in the Bible. What about it?
The hands represent how you accomplish in this world.
Oh, I mean, I can say this. It has Hebrew origins, but like the term Musk is like not any Jewish background. I can say as well. There is if I recall, and it's been a while since I've done the etymology on names, but I believe there may be, I think it's in the book of Judges. There may be, but it's not like a popular Jewish name. It's not David. It's not Mordecai. It's not Chaim. It's not Michael. It's not Moshe. You know what I'm saying? Like it can be. I mean, it's really it's either an Americanized or anglicized version of some Hebrew names.
Your joy should emanate from one place to one place only. That's closeness to Hashem. There should be no external mediums to bring about joy. You don't need it. It's the tremendous. We need to find different kinds of life to get us home to bring out.
I mean, it has Hebrew. It has Hebrew roots. So you're right, it does. But is it a popular Jewish name? No. Now that's absolutely true.
Discover the greatest simcha in the world emanates from closeness to Hashem. That's where the greatest joy comes. Yeah. The Kohen, who has the unique privilege to serve.
But I mean, Elon and Eli are different names, obviously.
He does not need This is one that invalidates the other one. It's Kohen, the simcha, has the company of pure, beautiful, unadulterated closeness.
But yeah, I mean, I was exactly.
Yeah, like you give us some preview. I think it's like lonely because you can really like fully be close to what I'm saying, because like people are kind of slow. You kind of gotta like slow down for people. But you can't just be the boss to get through
Certainly. I mean, I don't feel lonely here, and I've got people who literally sleep with me. And
but maybe you can just be stupid, right? You can just call when he's stupid and make jokes.
So to the name Elon, just because someone has a name which I believe is like Oak Tree, does not necessarily mean that they. It certainly doesn't mean they're Jewish. Michael Jordan's not Jewish. He has a Jewish name or a Hebrew name. Michael Jackson, arguably, there are arguments there, but. People like Moses Alou, Hebrew is one of the root languages of many people for the last 3,000 years, but there are also many variants of it. So I can tell you this: Elon Musk is not openly a Jew. He has been to the Western Wall. He has Jewish children because he's reproduced with some Jewish women, but he himself is not openly known as a Jew. Even though he has a he has done that. I mean, I don't know how much Hebrew he knows, but just because his first name is of Hebrew origin does not make him Jewish. The only way that he's Jewish is if his mother's Jewish or he's had an Orthodox conversion. That's the only way. No, he could do it. So basically, he would have to live within an Orthodox community for a year or two and keep kosher and essentially learn Torah, learn Talmud. Not, he wouldn't learn it all, but at least dedicate himself to that. It's really not that hard. The big thing is, well, it's not. Just not, he wouldn't be able to drive on Shabbat, and he wouldn't be able to work on Shabbat. I mean, there are some keep kosher, those kinds of things. But if he wanted to dedicate himself to that, he absolutely could.
Rather, it must be that a Kohen who does the avoda in a state of tumah. Is that true? That just because Hashem says the we don't exact punishment from such an individual. What about the case? But Tanan, Misha, look, Abashana Beis Machnis Masol to keep up. So again, we just saw this in Shav. This is done.
Certainly. Now, back to Elon Musk. With his name, like Musk, I don't know. Like a lot of times people change their name, especially their last name. So I can tell you that I've been at Shabbat tables where the question has been raised: is Elon Musk Jewish? And the overall consensus is no. But that doesn't mean that, perhaps he couldn't be if he wanted to be in the future. And Elon has had a huge increase in its popularity as a name. In 2008, it was the 3,310 most popular name. But it's increased incredibly over the course of 10 years, 885. So it's become more common, and then it's become likely more common from the Jewish community as well, especially because it has Hebrew roots. But it's not one of our more common names within Judaism. Though, there are some Israeli businessmen certainly who have it. But the big ones, Moshe, Shlomo, Solomon, Samuel, those are more common. Daniel, Michael, certainly, you can get into Zechariah and those kinds of names as well. But I think that the name Elon is definitely growing, and Elon Musk has certainly had an impact on that. But just from his family history, he hasn't reportedly been known as a Jew, and we as Jews don't practice Judaism in secret, and he has openly said that he's secular. In fact, he is very, I would say he has a lot of Christian, now he's Jewish,
you still killed this guy, right? I can't believe you killed this guy.
said he's Jewish,
But Jewish say,
but maybe not say they asked him, he said he's a little bit religious. It's actually saying agnostic.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're all agnostic because nobody really knows. But yeah, Sam Altman, I mean, there are arguments to be made too. Some people who say that they're Jewish are not Jewish, halakhically, by Jewish law. About 50% of all of Israel is not Jewish by Jewish law.
Maybe it's a lot. But when I saw,
What makes someone Jewish with a Jewish name?
Their mother's Jewish, or they had a Jewish conversion, a kosher conversion, an Orthodox conversion. So there are a lot of people who are consider themselves Jewish because their dad's Jewish. They're not Jewish. They can't marry my daughter. That doesn't count. And so, there are a lot of those cases in Israel. And then there are a lot of people, like 20% of the population that's Muslim or Christian or something else. So, less than half of, like, if someone were Israeli and they wanted to marry my daughter, I would have to have a look at their familial genealogy to ensure that they were Jewish. And if they weren't, they would need a kosher conversion.
Question that Rabbi asked from Rav Sheshes. Now, Rav Sheshes.
So for Elon Musk, even though he may have a name that is Hebrew, and he married like an Israeli, or he didn't marry an Israeli, he reproduced with an Israeli, there are arguments to be made depending on his wife or the baby mama's her genealogy, that child may still not be considered Jewish. It's complicated, and things happen, especially when we get into migration of people, especially from the Soviet Union to Israel, or reform or conservative people who make Aliyah, which is essentially moving to Israel, and they recognize that their children cannot marry halakhically Jewish children, then they have to convert. So a lot of them go to other countries and just get married, which that's fine. They're allowed to do that, but they don't have Jewish marriages. Or they don't have, or at least Orthodox Jewish marriages.
Pouring oil on a mincha, that's Yotze. Well, ultimately again is mixing the flour with Poseks. Certainly knuckles would be baked up.
At the end of the day, they can make all this money
adding salt.
I actually believe that we my purpose, and that's spirituality. Like, you have that,
so what's
you have like you have the money and the spiritual.
Well, I don't know.
Do you find family as something emotional, something you want?
Oh, absolutely.
You feel like you're ahead of that?
No. I'm not above that by any means. I'm a man, and that means I can reproduce into my 90s. There's no time limit on it. So I could find a wife who's 25 years old and be able to settle down and have a huge family with her, and that's probably what I'll do in the future. My power is not based on the biological clock like many times a woman's can be, and I'm somebody who recognizes that I
could be wrong, but cells degrade when you age.
Yeah, but you'd still be able to get some viable options at even age 90. There are men who are near 100 years old who have fathered children. So I'm not worried about that.
You use your sperm like DNA,
No,
like aging, whatever.
that's not how it works. You still have viable sperm at age 80 or age 90 even that is just as good as a sperm that you had when you're 18 years old.
It only applies to certain types of sacrificial
100%, absolutely. I mean, we see this happening now. Robert De Niro just had a child. He's like almost 80 years old. His wife is 25. child's fine. Same with Al Pacino. Al Pacino just had a child. He's in his.
Do you think when it's also they get older, their eggs are
Okay, so then you run into issues where there's a higher rate. There's a higher rate at a problematic pregnancy, where because due to the age of the woman, there are more complications that can happen. But some of those can be avoided, perhaps with surrogacy.
Like statistics on like women age of 40, any cases of 45, where the chance of the kid getting Down syndrome increases exponentially.
But there's surrogacy options. A woman can freeze her eggs and then essentially have in vitro fertilization and use a surrogate and basically have the same odds in many ways as she would have had if she had that child at age 20.
Yeah, that's why I was. So again, I looked into the females like egg cells, but I only heard about the sperm cells on ChatGPT because I don't do deep research on like male sperm. So I didn't look into the statistics itself, so I needed to look into it because that worries me. So I get older, because I thought about doing something similar like you, like just.
But again, this doesn't apply to the list that we just
feel very long term and then when I'm like, oh, well, this doesn't really matter. So
would have to go ahead and watch his hands.
Yeah, I mean, even still, all you have to do, sperm's very easy. All you need to do is find basically just one viable sperm, and you can impregnate a woman, an egg. So they'd be able to basically, you would ejaculate into a petri dish or essentially get a sample from you. And even if you were 90 years old and 90% of your sperm was not viable, still 10% is. And you have hundreds of millions of sperm cells. Or at least tens of thousands of viable sperm, but more than that, even at age 90. And you just need the laboratory basically to use one of those sperm cells to impregnate an egg, and then you're going to have a child in 9 months. It's just biology.
So again,
so now we did some deep research on organic reproduction. It seems like an interesting topic.
And offer up a cover, burn it on his day in the state of tumah, he would be chayiv. In other words, the only time that there wasn't the din of tumah, ultimately again, if it was b'chutz. But if it's
I imagine myself so lively and like have to come to the jobs to like proliferate them
in the state of tumah. Is that he is Nisa. Now again, the Kashas were talking Nisa b'Dei Shamayim. So that seems to answer the original question that Rav asked Rav Sheshes. That was our original question. If a Kohen does the abode in a state of tumah, is he chayav Nisa b'Dei Shamayim?
When you're like
or is down
like you have a set age.
I love Nisa. Don't we see for him that Kohen goes ahead and
I mean, yeah, I have a plan. I don't have it down to an age though. I'll go viral. I'll travel the world for a few years, do a lot of good, set up all these not-for-profits, basically have a harem of chicks who I slay, just a roster, have a good time, and then eventually find the one for me. And then
you'll be like
exactly. And I would not be able to do that without data. In fact, if I wanted to, absolutely. I think that every woman in the world would want to reproduce with someone. I mean, I do it for good reasons. I won't work these. I honestly have less faith, for lack of a better term, but less. I don't find IQ to be as important as emotional intelligence. To me, emotional intelligence is far greater. I have even higher emotional intelligence. So I can tell you that I've taken emotional intelligence tests and been the highest person that the test has ever seen. Now, there were ways to play that as well, so I kind of knew I was kind of going for a very high score. But if anything, I have extremely high emotional intelligence, and what that allows me to do is be able to empathize really well with people, to be able to communicate really well with people, to be able to teach really well. And to me, that interpersonal communication is far greater, a far greater determinant of success in the world than simple IQ. We see a lot of people with extremely high IQs in society who are nomadic, who are antisocial, and just because they may be able to calculate something quickly or accurately does not necessarily mean that they're going to be successful. What we do see, so many of them do, but it's not necessary, and some of them don't. Some of them have perfectly average IQs, and they've just been set up well. I would tell you this right now. I would say most. I would disagree. I think emotional intelligence is more important. And we could argue that one. But basically, once you get the job, it's about how you're able to network within it. And emotional intelligence, if you're highly liked, if you're highly sociable, you're going to get more promotions than the person who's just smart.
Okay, so now we're going to go back.
I think that the motion would get you into a different job. And now it's not about performance within the same job anymore. It's about rising up the hierarchy.
And that's absolutely, and that's how you become successful.
And then there's also other factors that need to improve your also agreeableness. The lower your agreeableness, it seems like the higher you want as well.
I wouldn't necessarily. I am. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's always accurate.
If you're like low enough where people don't really hate your guts, like seems to get better. And if you are higher,
certainly. I mean, there's some cutthroatness in that. You need to have fortitude. You need to have determination. You need to be aggressive. Yeah, and I think risk taking certainly has plays a role in that. I really wouldn't underestimate emotional intelligence, though. Give me someone with a really high emotional intelligence in the job over someone with a really high IQ any day. Any day. And here's why. They're going to be able to understand the environment faster. They're going to be able to make more people happy in a shorter amount of time. And when it comes down to moving up as for a promotion, the person with the higher emotional intelligence is going to do better. I mean, it's like the same to say, give me someone who's attractive over someone who's just average looking. The person who's attractive is going to move up in the ranks far faster. Now, if you're looking for someone who's going to be able to come up with some equation where perhaps human their human behavior doesn't have as much of an impact, give me the person with a high IQ. I'll take that all day long. But if you want me, if I am picking someone who needs to be intelligent and emotionally intelligent in order to be able to get a promotion, give me the person who is emotionally intelligent. They're going to be able to lead a team better. They're going to be looked up to as a leader. They're going to be followed. They are going to have accountability and integrity and a dedication to excellence and a dedication to mission and teamwork. Much better than someone who's just very smart. And that proves out. If you look at coaches and even CEOs, they're generally not the people with the highest IQ. They're the people who've been able to navigate the company in the best way. Now, there is some nepotism to that. Last names.
That's why when we say IQ, that's also something that is important. I also agree with you.
I agree with you. No, there's no doubt about that. They're both important. Which do I think is more important to success? Emotional intelligence. I just do. Because that's practical. Any computer, if you give me someone with high emotional,
the EQ operates at a more different layer where you can jump to different jobs, better opportunities, so you get into better rooms. You're not stuck at one place. So that's basically what you're saying. Your networking.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as this. IQ will help you to perform well on tests. EQ will help you to perform well with people. And businesses are not tests. Businesses are people. And that's why people with high emotional intelligence do well. But also someone's attractive. You can give me someone who is attractive with high emotional intelligence. I can tell you that person will be CEO of their company within a decade or two. I mean, that's a killer combination. Even if they have an average IQ. An IQ, especially with AI nowadays, can in many ways be replaced, or at least the field can be leveled, because maybe someone previously who wasn't that good at writing a paper or doing a math equation can just plug that, or to code, can just plug that into AI, and AI has a far higher IQ than even the smartest person in the world. And what the high IQ person cannot do is the reverse of that. To be able to go to some kind of machine and create a really good emotional quotient, a really good emotional, improve their emotional intelligence. That's something that you learn by doing. It's about behavior. It's about how you relate to other people. So let's just take someone who is average intelligence. They can go and use AI to make it seem like their intelligence is much higher and have the job results of someone who with a higher mental acuity, and then they would be able to use their emotional intelligence, their interactions with those around them and their environment, and being able to adapt to be able to be far more successful than the person with a really high intelligence quotient, which basically gets limited now because AI raises everyone's intelligence, and the person with a high IQ is unable to replicate the same results that the person with the high EQ had, because there isn't a machine that allows them to be able to improve their emotional intelligence.
I think that now it's still good because we're not fully neurons yet, or once we're neurons, then having a high IQ means gesture.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. And then EQ is Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yes, it is. So eventually we may kind of all become the same drones in the future with some type of brain, some kind of brain-computer interface. But until we're there, the fact that people with high emotional intelligence can have a high IQ using AI is a game changer. And I can tell you this: if you gave me someone out of college who had, let's say, average, like what would I think? Would I rather have extremely good looking, extremely high emotional intelligence, or extremely high IQ? I would take extremely attractive over both of those other two. There's something still about aesthetics that are very important to society. People want to be around good-looking people. So even if somebody's not that smart, that person may rise to the top because they're very good-looking. But especially with plastic surgery and different therapies and such, you can cheat, exactly. So that it depends how much money they have and basically what they want to do. But give me someone who has high emotional intelligence, who utilizes plastic surgery to be able to make themselves as attractive as possible, and that's a killer combination. And then give that person AI, which basically raises their IQ, and they're going to be a very successful individual.
Bill Gates, Larry Page, they don't like this good models, and they think that, and they also very high IQ as well, and it's emotional intelligence.
I disagree with the emotional. I disagree with them. I disagree with the emotional intelligence of Bill Gates. He's always been seen as a nerd. He's connected himself with basically bad players in many industries. He's not seen as very personable. He's not seen as cool. In a lot of ways, I don't think he has very high emotional intelligence. In fact, he just had to apologize for, in Australia, he made a statement for some of his network that he felt that was not a apt use of his time, so to speak. They've all been set up. So I hate to say it, but Elon Musk, his grandfather owned an emerald mine. Bill Gates, his father was one of the heads of Planned Parenthood, and his mother was a trustee on the board of trustees of the University of Washington. His grandfather was a banker. Jeff Bezos, his grandfather was one of the heads of DARPA, which created the internet, which created GPS, which created like hologram technology, like basically really advanced things. So he's been set up. His family comes from like extremely wealthy ranchers. Sergey Brin, Larry Page. I mean, they basically were set up in many ways with Google. Or they were basically put in an excellent position. Someone like Larry Ellison or like Steve Jobs. Like Steve Jobs is an interesting one. He was adopted, but he was adopted to a upper middle class family, and his location helped. He was in Silicon Valley. It absolutely does. And you know, you look at he also set himself up with really important players, but if you look at the success of Apple computers, it's not because of Steve Jobs. It's because of Steve Wozniak, who frankly is like the brains behind it, but isn't one of these super mega rich people. I mean, he's very wealthy, but not in terms of looking at becoming a trillionaire, which you would expect. But Steve Wozniak wasn't as personable as Steve Jobs was, as it's been discussed. Steve Wozniak was the brains, and Steve Jobs was the salesperson of Apple computers. Exactly. I'm in agreement with you. That's an excellent way to put it. Steve Wozniak was the IQ, and Steve Jobs was the EQ. But frankly, all of these guys are all westernized men. There are people in India and in China who have far higher IQs and far higher EQs, but because of their location, nobody knows who they are.
Location is the biggest predictor. It's like more than IQ. That's why I
Right, but I'm in agreement with you, and that gets into your social network, and it also gets into what kind of opportunities you have in education.
I think the internet is also helping us bridge that location barrier, but still a major factor. You're born in Africa, you're super smart and hardworking. It's very unlikely you would be like a billionaire.
Look at Elon Musk. He was born. Look at Elon Musk. He was born in Africa, and he's almost a trillionaire. So you can't necessarily say that. I understand, but he was born in Africa. I agree with you, but I would say that he would still be a multimillionaire if he never left Africa, because his grandfather owned an emerald mine. I mean, that's like being born on third base, and being happy that you hit a home run. It's like you were born on third base. It's not that impressive. I mean, give me someone who literally started from either a low income family or middle class family, and they built a business up, and they came from nothing. That's really an interesting story. Someone whose grandfather was an emerald mine owner. With a negative reputation. He was known as a slumlord, basically that he wouldn't take care of his properties or the people in there. Like, 100%. Exactly. Very bad reputation of that family. Well, I mean, we take our beginnings, certainly biblically, but going back to 18th century Germany, and it's been about connections ever since. And, we're a central power within the world, and have been for 300 years. Absolutely.
So you're bringing up a Mishnah.
Also has like have interest in studying different people, like how.
Absolutely. 100%. Well, I am.
Like, you already powerful, right? Like, you don't really need to study other powerful people because you already have them.
I mean, I would say that my power is potentially still to be determined. My man, I've got my friend here, Riser, and I know you said it was getting late to where you are. Riser, this is I am from Australia, but I have to rip on I am. I am does not know what raw comedy is, so we had to teach him about that. We had to teach him about the funny people in Australia, so he's got some work to do. Riser, how you living, pimp? Yeah, I'm awake and I'm slinging dick. Yeah, did you watch the Super Bowl?
I was going to. I was going to hop in the Discord and watch it, but I fell asleep at 10 a.m. and I got up at 17 and I was like, is the thing still on? And then apparently, I don't know what time it started. Pacific time, like 4 or something.
It started at 3:30 Pacific time. Extremely boring. I mean, I can tell you, I watched all the highlights, and the one team scored 12 points. So the Seahawks, who eventually would win, they scored 12 points in the first half, and the Patriots scored 0, which is generally like, meaning no touchdowns in the first half, which is pretty exceptional. And then we had a situation where we had some scoring in the second half, but it was what's called like garbage time, where like the other team's not trying that much; they're already up like 2 touchdowns. They could really share this. So yeah, and then there was Bad Bunny, who did the Super Bowl halftime, which none of it was in English, and there were a lot of people pissed off about that. I watched that, and I didn't know what he was saying. I watched the whole thing, but I watched it later on, and it was very boring. I shouldn't say it was very boring. It was actually really exciting. I misspoke. What I wanted to say is the reason why I found it boring is I don't know Spanish that well, and it was entirely in Spanish, and there was no English, none. I shouldn't say that. Wait, maybe like a little bit of Lady Gaga. She performed as well, and there was a little bit in English, but it was like just like a few lines, and it was 13 minutes long, all in Spanish. But I thought it was really cool. So like they made him like Bad Bunny go in like different environments, which was cool. And they had somebody get married during it, which is pretty interesting. But here's the thing: it wasn't supposed to be Bad Bunny. It was supposed to be Taylor Swift. And the reason why Taylor Swift didn't perform at the Super Bowl, nor will she ever, perhaps, is because when you are a Super Bowl performer, there are some caveats. You don't own the footage. And Taylor Swift, as you know, is like really big on owning her own art. But the NFL, it's a bunch of billionaires, and they could care less about Taylor Swift. She's just a $1 billionaire person. They have combined like $600 billion amongst all of the 32 owners, or maybe not that much, but pretty close when you combine them all, and the works of their teams and everything. I mean, they don't.
Taylor Swift from having the rights to her Super Bowl performance. Like even if she filmed it herself, on different angles in the World Cup, at least the NFL does it. The same film, it's like the same performance virtually.
That's right. She doesn't get to film it. The NFL is the one who films it, and the NFL gets the footage. And that means 30 years from now, the NFL can use her footage, and she doesn't have a say in it. And she wants control over it. Another major issue is the people who perform in the Super Bowl halftime do not get paid anything. They do it for free. The reason why they do it for free is because it automatically, essentially, makes their music the next day become number one on all the streaming sites. So they see the performers see the benefit of it. And Taylor Swift is already basically number one in most things in streaming. I mean, it's not like she needs more record sales or anything. So she doesn't see it as that beneficial to her. And she, as you know, I mean,